Chapter 579. The three pure-blooded true spirits joining Stone Village didn't cause much of a stir. The danger of the great wilderness destruction disappeared, and Stone Village regained its peace. Everything was normal, as if nothing had changed. Willow deity, I had a dream again last night. Little Shirtu sat under the green willow tree with a bitter face. He rubbed his forehead, and his young face seemed to carry an indescribable sadness. Willow deity, I had a dream last night. I dreamed of many people and some things. Those seem to be things that happened to me, but I don't remember anything. Little Shirtu shook his head and looked helplessly at Willow deity. Sigh. With a faint sigh, Willow deity's figure appeared in the green clouds. That wasn't a dream. It was your own experience. Only, you were too young at the time, so you didn't leave behind any memories. With a gentle wave of her hand, a willow branch fell in front of Little Shirtu. Willow deity lowered her head and looked at Little Shirtu. I can help you see everything, but that will only bring you pain. From now on, a carefree life will leave you. In the future, there will only be endless battles and killing. Are you ready? Is that so? Little Shirtu stood up and turned his head to look at the peaceful Stone Village. A smile appeared on his face. Although I'm still young, I also know a principle. There is no place in this world that is truly peaceful. Turning around, Little Shirtu raised his head and looked at Willow deity. His eyes were full of determination. Xiaohao told me before that men can't shrink back. Even if I'm still a little boy, I won't shrink back. Then, as you wish. The green willow branch gently brushed against Little Shirtu's forehead, and a green light flashed. Kacha! As if a door that had been sealed for a long time was opened, countless scenes appeared in Little Shirtu's mind. Grandpa 15 is mighty. A majestic old man stepped onto the 100-tribe battlefield in high spirits with a huge bow in his hand. Little brother, if you're a natural-born supreme being, then what am I? A little boy with double pupils, known as the natural-born saint, expressionlessly stared at an infant's chest. Double pupils and supreme being bone combined into one. My son is the natural-born supreme being. My son is invincible. A woman with a ferocious look on her face swung her blade. The ice-cold blade sliced open the baby's chest and took out a sparkling white bone that shone with divine light. Pain. It was a heart-wrenching pain. His entire body felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, and he was trembling from the cold. Vicious woman. How could she be so vicious? Sure, Xiling angrily pulled out his sword and caused havoc in the martial imperial manner. After being suppressed by the clansmen, Sure Xiling and his wife took the dying little guy and exiled him to the second ancestral land. I'm unable to repay Grandpa 15's great kindness. An old man carrying a child arrived in front of Sure Xiling's family. My family's grandson is about the same age as the young master. Let him be the substitute and fight for a chance of survival for the young master. My son's life is hanging by a thread. My wife and I have to go to the forbidden land of the Divine Mountain to find a saint medicine to save his life. Old Patriarch, please take care of this child for us. In Stone Village, a couple handed over a dying infant to the old chief. Father, mother, Grandpa, and Xiaohao. 2 streams of hot tears rolled down his cheeks. The little Shirtu took a deep breath and stubbornly raised his head. His back was perfectly straight, as if there was nothing in this world that could baffle him. The pure and carefree, devilish child finally came in contact with the cruelest truth of this world. Although there are many people who don't treat me well, but the little Shirtu wiped his tears and raised his head. Looking at Stone Village, a smile appeared on his face again. But there are even more people who care about me and want to help me. It's good that you understand. The Willow deity nodded. With your current cultivation, you have already surpassed the limits of the blood transformation realm. It's time for you to go out and gain experience. Like Xiaohao, to gain experience in the great wastelands and travel 300,000 li alone. The little Shirtu clenched his fists. If Xiaohao can do it, then I can obviously do it too. Of course, you have to go and gain experience in the great wastelands. However, right now, I want you to go to another place. With a wave of the willow branch, green light filled the sky. The willow deity's voice contained a bit of mystery. This is a mysterious place. Here, you can meet countless geniuses from all over the world. There are pure-blooded, true spirit children, the heirs of ancient countries, and the geniuses of various large families and sections. You can even meet people with dual pupils. People with dual pupils. The little Shirdu slightly frowned and then indifferently smiled. I just want to see how powerful that brother of mine is after he stole my supreme being bone. Are you ready? Then sit down under the tree. I'll send you in. The willow deity gestured for the little Shirdu to sit down. With a wave of its hand, the countless branches emitted an endless radiance. A mighty power endlessly circulated between the branches. Hey, willow deity, can you also bring Xiaohao over? The little Shirdu was meditating under the willow tree. He suddenly opened his eyes and asked the willow deity, "If you want to go in, I don't need to do anything." With a wave of the willow branch, rays of green light rushed into the sky. Calm your heart and enter meditation. I'm going to send you in. Boom! The green willow branch suddenly rushed up and emitted a bright radiance. It was like a swimming dragon that rushed into the sky. Boom! A rumble sounded in the sky. The green light exploded and the heaven and earth were covered in green. The willow branch was like a dragon. It was as if it pierced through the void and opened a mysterious door. Inside the door, the clouds were dense and the light was blurry. It was mysterious and deep. Go! The willow deity lightly shouted. The green light that filled the sky rippled. The little Shirdu only felt his soul tremble. His entire body involuntarily flew into the sky. He passed through the mysterious door and arrived at a vast and boundless mysterious world. Clouds curled up and the heaven and earth were in chaos. The world in front of him seemed to be shrouded in a dense fog. His surroundings were boundless. Where is this? The little Shirdu was confused. The scene in front of him was different from what the willow deity described. This is the void god realm. This is only a corner. The real void god realm is vast and boundless. Come with me. A voice rang out from behind him. Little Shirdu turned his head to look and saw a huge green willow tree in the midst of the dense fog. It emitted an endless amount of light, illuminating the dense fog. The fog dispersed. A vast and broken world appeared in front of the little Shirdu. This place, the earth was shattered and the mountains collapsed. Countless buildings and palaces had been reduced to rubble and broken tiles. This is the divine battlefield. The willow deity explained to the little Shirdu. During the chaos of the ancient times, the deities fought and destroyed this place. So fierce, the little Shirdu sucked in a breath of cold air. Such a vast world was destroyed. This is not the real world. This place is formed by the will of countless deities. It is formed by the will of all living beings. This is a spiritual world. You are now in your soul state. Only your soul has entered this place. Your body is still in Stone Village. A willow branch broke through the fog and revealed a golden door in the void. Go. That is the void god realm where heroes fight for supremacy. Go and see the world outside. Heroes fighting for supremacy? Heroes, I'm coming. The little Shirdu raised his head and shouted. He rushed into the golden door. Chapter 580. Little Stone has already entered the void god realm. Sensing willow deity's mental fluctuations, Liu knew that this was a sign of opening the void god realm. Since that's the case, Xiaohao can also go there and take a look. The void god realm was a mental world. In this world, after one's soul entered, all their senses were completely real. It was simply a holographic game world. A virtual world constructed by the mind also reflects the rules of this world. Therefore, in this game-like world, I have to open up an administrator's authority. The power of his soul rushed out. Liu released his soul and sensed the existence of the void god realm. After locking onto the location, Liu's mind moved and opened a door for Xiaohao's Supreme Palace. It's already connected to the Void God realm through the Supreme Palace. Young man, go in and play games. Stone Village. Xiaohao was dealing with the spoils of war in the weapon refining pavilion. After defeating the attack of the 4 noble clans, Stone Village obtained a lot of spoils of war. Although many of them were ordinary items, there weren't many talisman treasures. However, these things still had some value. Wong. Just as Xiaohao was refining these broken weapons, the Supreme Hall in his mind shuddered, and a brilliant light burst out. The Supreme Palace has changed again? Xiaohao's mind moved, and his soul entered the Supreme Palace in his mind. A door appeared. On the side of the Supreme Palace, outside the martial arts hall that hadn't been opened yet, a simple stone door stood tall and emitted a brilliant light. Door of Trial? Leads to the Void God realm. Arriving in front of the stone door, Xiaohao saw a series of information appear on the stone door. A mental world? Gathering the heroes of the world and fighting for supremacy? This is quite interesting. Xiaohao smiled and nodded as he stepped through the stone door. As the golden light flashed, the world changed. When the light faded, he was already in another world. He was standing on a huge bluestone platform. The platform was very wide, and there were countless runes engraved on it. Pieces of sparkling and translucent treasured bones were embedded on the bluestone platform, forming a runed passage. A child wants to dig a runed passage. It can't be. He even wants to dig a runed passage. Is he not afraid of being punished? Who knows? That little guy has been squatting on the ground for half a day. Xiaohao had just taken a step when he suddenly heard a burst of discussion from all around, which made Xiaohao feel a burst of surprise. There are people digging runic passages? Who is this weirdo? Little stone? Following the direction that everyone was pointing at, Xiaohao discovered that little Shirtu was squatting on the ground. He was looking at the inlaid rune bone on the bluestone platform with great interest, as if he really wanted to dig it out. What are you doing? Walking to little Shitu's side, Xiaohao crossed his arms and looked at little Shirtu with a smile. I'm trying to figure out how to dig this thing out. Little Shirtu answered casually. Suddenly, his expression froze, and he hurriedly raised his head. Xiaohao, you're here too. Yeah, I'm here too. Xiaohao lowered his head and looked at the runic precious bone on the ground. He shook his head and said, "This should be the precious bone of a void beast. It has the power to travel through the void. But what do you want it for?" Haha, I wasn't going to take it. However, they said that I can't dig out these precious bones, so I want to try. Little Shirtu smiled. Since others can't dig it out, I want to try. Is he really going to dig a runic passage? Kid, stop dreaming. The runic passage's precious bones in the Void God realm are not real objects. They're formed by the rules. Unless you have the ability to break the starting ground's limit, you can forget about digging out these precious bones. Let him dig. I haven't seen such an interesting thing in a long time. Let me have some fun. The people surrounding the bluestone platform were discussing, laughing, and waiting to see a joke. Don't waste your time here. Xiaohao shook his head and pointed at the sky. That's what we should be paying attention to. In the sky, many dazzling monuments stood tall and floated in the sky. Amidst the brilliant radiance, the shining words recorded the heroic deeds one after another, and the names of the people who were engraved on them were resplendent. What's that? Little Shirtu looked in the direction that Xiaohao was pointing at. He unexpectedly saw a name that made his heart ache. Dual Pupil, slaying 9 kings in one battle. Dual Pupil, reaching the peak in one battle. Among these dazzling monuments, the title Dual-Pupiled Individual deeply stung little Shitu's eyes. Slaying 9 kings? Reaching the peak. If he can do it, then I can do it too. Little Shirtu no longer had the mind to pay attention to the runic passage. He clenched his fists tightly and stared at the name in the sky as he let out a heaven-shaking roar. Chi, 2 brats who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Among the spectators, someone shook his head and sneered. He deeply despised Xiaohao and little Shirtu for not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. The 2 of them are just children. It's understandable for them to be a bit arrogant at such a young age. Another person smiled and replied. He seemed to be helping little Sure to explain, but in reality, there was an even deeper mockery. Do you know what that is? It's a monument. Only by breaking the record and breaking the limit of this stage will you have the qualifications to write your name on the monument and announce it to the world. Someone couldn't stand it anymore and directly explained it to the two children, breaking the limit and breaking the shackles. Unless you are a heavenly genius, normal people don't even need to think about it. This is the starting ground. All power is limited to the blood movement realm. If you can break the limit of the blood movement realm and break the record of your predecessors, then you will have the chance to write your name on the monument and announce it to the world. An old man took over the conversation. There wasn't much mockery in his words, but he couldn't stand the two children who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, so he began to lecture them. The limit of the blood movement realm? Little Sure to and Xiao Hao looked at each other and smiled. With their current physical strength, they had already surpassed the limit of the blood movement realm by several times. So, the matter of writing their name on the monument wasn't that difficult. You do it. Xiao Hao gestured to Little Sure to. Let them broaden their horizons. Use the monument to announce our arrival to the heroes of the Void God realm. Good. Watch me. Little Sure to raised his arms high and roared towards the sky. However, his young face, white and tender hands, and his age of around 5 years old, made his appearance inexplicably make people laugh. Ha ha! The surrounding people who were watching the show were already overjoyed. They only felt that this child was really funny. Brat, you should first dig out the precious bones of the rune passage. Someone suggested with a laugh. Dig out precious bones? A trace of ridicule flashed through Little Shidu's eyes. Then I'll dig out a precious bone. Retreating a few steps, Little Sure to stepped on the ground, and his figure whistled through the air. He raised his palm and fiercely slapped down on a precious bone of the rune passage. Boom! A palm strike shook the heavens and the earth. Chapter 581. Boom! A huge force fiercely slammed on the bluestone platform, creating a loud noise. A force of 300,000 gene, exceeding the limit of 100,000 gene for the blood movement realm in the starting ground. Under the attack, the bluestone platform exploded. A rune precious bone flew up, and Little Stone grabbed it in his hand. Is it that hard to dig out a precious bone? Isn't this a precious bone? Little Stone grabbed the precious bone, held his head high, and looked around disdainfully. How is this possible? You can actually dig out a rune precious bone? There is such a thing. The surrounding crowd was dumbstruck. Clang! The sound of heaven was vast and mighty, and the immortal light was like rain. A huge crystal tablet rose from the ground and floated in the air. Shattering the rune passage of the starting ground. Reward: 1 precious bone. The crystal tablet shone brightly, and immortal clouds lingered. A line of words was engraved on the crystal tablet. The words flickered, overflowing with light. This is also possible. Destroying the teleportation passage is also a record. Everyone was dumbstruck and looked at each other. There's still a message? Little Stone looked at the floating crystal tablet and found that there was a place to leave a message. I am about to write my name on the tablet. Thinking of Sure E with double pupils, he might also appear in the Void God realm. Little Stone's mind moved, and he left a sentence on the crystal tablet. I am coming. Are you afraid? I still need to leave my name. I am still very weak now, and there are many potential enemies. I don't want to expose my real name. Looking at Xiao Hao, Little Stone laughed. Since you are called Xiao Hao, then I will be called Tai Hao. He reached out and engraved the name Tai Hao. The huge crystal tablet rushed up, towering high in the sky. Congratulations to Cultivator Tai Hao for shattering the rune passage of the starting ground, creating a new record. At this moment, the world was shocked. The huge crystal tablet hung high in the sky, and every place in the Void God realm could see this crystal tablet. The crystal tablet shone brilliantly, illuminating the world. The mighty heavenly sound spread throughout the world, shaking the world. This is also possible. Destroying the teleportation passage is also a record. Seeing this news, Countless people beat their chests and stamped their feet in regret. If destroying the rune passage of the starting ground can break a record, then what about the other places? Some of the more quick-witted people immediately had the thought of imitating him. Boom! As the lightning struck, a burly man who was smashing the runic passage with a sledgehammer was blasted into pieces by a bolt of lightning. Crack! A bolt of lightning flashed, and a group of cultivators who were smashing the gate of the starting ground were burned to ashes by the lightning. Misled by Little Stone, countless cultivators who were causing trouble in the faux god world were blasted into smithereens by the power of the rules of the faux god world. Fortunately, the faux god world was not the real world. Dying once would only damage one's soul. One would recover after resting for a year or so. On the first day that the devilish brat entered the void god realm, he already stirred up a lot of trouble. Bastard! The cultivators who had been greatly harmed by Little Stone gritted their teeth and cursed angrily. There's nothing interesting here. Let's go. When Xiaohao saw Little Shida's antics, he shook his head with a smile and pulled Little Shirtu out. The title of the monument this time wasn't breaking the runic passage. The main point was that Little Shidu's strength had broken through the limits of the blood movement realm. Thus, even if the rules of the faux god world didn't allow the destruction of the passage, there was still a reward for breaking the limit. This allowed Little Shirtu to destroy the runic passage and obtain the opportunity to write his name on the monument. Those who wanted to imitate Little Shirtu didn't have the strength to break through the limit and couldn't obtain the reward. What awaited them was only punishment. Don't be in such a hurry. Don't be in such a hurry. Little Shirtu pulled Xiaohao back. I played once, so you should also play once. There's no need for that, right? Xiaohao looked like a 5-year-old child, but his soul had reincarnated 100 times and experienced tens of thousands of years. He already had no interest in this kind of playful thing. It's more fun if we each play once. Didn't you say that we would use the monument to announce our arrival? Let's start from here. Little Shirtu didn't let go of Xiaohao. Xiaohao couldn't change his mind and could only agree. All right, I'll also dig out a precious bone. Although, this kind of archaic descendant's precious bone is really useless. Xiaohao shook his head and turned his head to look at the ground. He randomly found a target and waved his hand to slap it. Boom! Another shocking explosion sounded. Stone fragments swirled in the air as the precious bone bounced up. This attack, Xiaohao's strength was a little bit more than Little Shidu's, just enough to break the record. Dong! The sound of the heavens was vast and mighty, and multicolored light filled the sky. A huge crystal monument rose from the ground, brilliant and dazzling. Congratulations to cultivator Xiaohao for breaking the starting ground's runic passage and creating a new record. The monument was written and announced to the world. At this moment, countless people in the void god realm were so shocked that their jaws dropped. Another one. Taihao, Xiaohao, are they two brothers? Could it be that only by breaking the starting ground's runic passage can the record be broken? In the void god realm, countless people flocked towards the starting ground. I hope you guys won't be tricked too miserably. Xiaohao smiled and shook his head. He pulled Little Shirtu and walked outside. I just saw a record of the dual-pupiled person leaping to the top. Let's go and try. Okay. Little Shirtu wanted to compete with the dual-pupiled person, so he naturally agreed. The two walked out of the bluestone platform and walked towards the place where the dual-pupiled person broke the record. Beside the bluestone platform, there was only a group of people who were still in a daze. This is impossible, right? Near the bluestone platform, the people who were watching the excitement were completely stupefied. They couldn't believe what was happening in front of them. Breaking the record is so easy. 2 children, each breaking the runic passage once, actually broke the record? How could this be? Let me try too. The monument was written and announced to the world, and it would be passed down for eternity. Naturally, no one would let go of this opportunity. Thus, on the starting ground's runic platform, a large group of cultivators rubbed their fists and waved their weapons. They fiercely smashed the bluestone platform with ping, 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 ping sounds. Boom! Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. A series of miserable cries sounded. On the entire bluestone platform, countless cultivators were punished by the void god realm. They died under the lightning tribulation and were annihilated. You asked for yourselves. You can't blame me. Hearing the sound of thunder behind him and the miserable cries, the corner of Xiaohao's mouth twitched. He moved forward a bit faster. Xiaohao and Taihao, they want to break the dual-pupiled person's record? With 2 consecutive monument titles, the 2 little fellows were already famous in the void god realm. Seeing the direction they were heading and hearing their conversation, the void god realm was once again in an uproar. Someone dares to challenge the dual-pupiled person's record? These 2 little fellows use tricks to obtain the monument title, yet they don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The more the news spread, the more people followed behind the 2 little fellows. Although the 2 little fellows are not ordinary, it's impossible for them to break the dual-pupiled person's record. Just wait and see the joke. This opportunistic person will definitely suffer a crushing defeat this time and become a laughingstock. In front of a tall mountain in the starting ground, there was already a sea of people. Countless people were paying attention to Xiaohao and Taihao. Although no one thought they could break the dual-pupiled person's record, these 2 little fellows were also extraordinary and were worth paying attention to. Taihao and Xiaohao's names shook the world. Chapter 582. We're here. This is the place where the man with dual pupils reached the peak. In front of him was a towering cliff. The mountain was majestic, and the cliff was like a wall. A waterfall fell from the top of the mountain, as if the Milky Way was hanging upside down. The mist was dense, and the clouds were rosy. Under the sunlight, it flashed with colorful rainbows. This is the place. Little Stone's eyes were filled with a complicated expression. The man with dual pupils, his cousin who stole his supreme being bone, was now very famous and had made a name for himself. If he didn't have his supreme being bone dug out, he probably wouldn't be any worse than him, right? Xiaohao, I want to try. Little Stone looked at the mountain in front of him and clenched his fists tightly. Go ahead and do it. How can a trifling man with dual pupils stop us from moving forward? Xiaohao smiled indifferently and nodded at Little Stone. Pfft, shameless boasting. At this time, an old man sneered and said, the man with dual pupils is a natural-born saint. How can a mountain brat like you compare to him? Xiaohao and Taihao, these 2 brats who appeared out of nowhere, shocked the entire void god realm. Countless people were trying to find out about their origins. They quickly discovered that these 2 people didn't exist in any of the sacred mountains, ancient countries, or great sections. In this way, their identities were very clear. These were 2 mountain boys who came out of nowhere. How difficult is it to reach the peak in one step? Another person continued. One can only rely on the strength of their body and cannot use any talisman techniques. Back then, the man with dual pupils used his physical strength to reach the peak in one step. This is an unprecedented miracle. That's right. After the man with dual pupils set a new record, there were also pure-blooded true spirits who came to challenge him, but they all failed. Even pure-blooded true spirits couldn't break the record of the man with dual pupils. And you dare dream? Whether it's wishful thinking or not, you'll know when you see it. Hearing these taunts and mockery, Little Stone felt indignant. He snorted heavily and said, "Open your eyes and watch. Rise." With an angry roar, Little Stone stomped on the ground, creating a loud rumbling sound. The ground collapsed and the mountain rock shattered. Little Shirtu stomped heavily on the ground and leaped into the air. The rising figure broke through the clouds and soared into the sky. In front of countless people's faces filled with shock and astonishment, this young figure actually suddenly ascended to the heavens with a single step and stepped onto the peak of the mountain. Clang! The heavenly music was vast and mighty, and the multicolored light was boundless. The dazzling monument soared into the air and hung high in the sky. Congratulations to cultivator Taihao for reaching the peak in one step and breaking the record of the dual-pupiled man. The mighty voice resounded throughout the world. At this moment, the entire Void God realm was deathly silent. Countless people stared at the monument in the sky with their mouths agape. They found it hard to believe. How is this possible? He broke all the records for the people with dual pupils? That's amazing. This is too shocking. After a while, the entire Void God world was in an uproar. Cries of shock and disbelief rose like a tide of anger. He actually broke the record of the person with dual pupils? In front of the mountain of the starting ground, all the onlookers were horrified and trembling all over. Miracle. This is truly a miracle. The record of the person with dual pupils was known as the world's strongest and unbreakable record. It was actually so easily broken by a 5-year-old child. Did you see that? Is it that hard to climb the mountain? Little Shidu's figure jumped down from the peak of the mountain and raised his arms high. He was incomparably mighty. Taihao, are you willing to join my Butian pavilion? An old man stood in the air with his hands behind his back and smiled as he spoke to little Shirtu. Join my Zhulu Academy. A woman wearing golden armor stood in the air like a god of war as she spoke to little Shirtu. Young man, my Signwood ancient kingdom needs a talent like you to join. Bastard, this is my stone country's territory. How can I allow your Signwood country to steal people from here? How can there be a border in the Void God realm? Taihao, come to our fire country. After breaking the record of the person with dual pupils, little Shirtu had already proven his exceptional talent. His body strength was unparalleled in the world. This kind of talent had already gained the favor of many big powers. Xiaohao, it's your turn. Little Shirtu did not pay attention to these people's so-called recruitment and turned around to speak to Xiaohao. Stone Village even had several pure-blooded, true spirit treasure techniques. There were also the worldly immortal martial techniques, as well as the Supreme Palace's true primordial record and 6-Dao reincarnation heavenly technique. Which sect or sacred ground would pass down so many secret techniques? I don't need it, right? Xiaohao did not have any thoughts of being in the limelight. Xiaohao, who had experienced 100 reincarnations, had already become indifferent to these empty titles. Us two brothers will travel the world together. I broke the record, so you naturally have to break it once too. Little Shirtu did not plan on letting Xiaohao go. Since he wanted to cause trouble, then he would cause a big commotion and let their jaws drop from shock. Okay. Spreading the name of the Supreme Palace and shaking the world, this kind of reputation matter could not be ignored. Thinking about this, Xiaohao nodded his head. Huh, good. Little Shirtu laughed loudly as he turned around and shouted at the surrounding people. Open your eyes wide and watch my brother break the record again. He wants to do it again? Yes. Previously, when they broke the runic passage, it was the two brothers who took turns to break it. I'm afraid it will be the same this time. Is he going to break the record again? This is a rare grand occasion. With little Shirtu as an example, everyone was even more expectant of Xiaohao breaking the record. Then I'll give it a try. Xiaohao smiled and nodded his head. He heavily stomped his foot, and with a loud bang, his body soared into the air like a great rock spreading its wings. The young figure soared into the sky and climbed to the peak of the mountain once again. Compared to the time, with little Shirtu, Xiaohao soared a little higher and just happened to break the record again. Clang! Another monument soared into the sky. Congratulations to the cultivator Xiaohao for reaching the peak in one step, breaking the record, and setting a new high. The sound of the heavens was vast and mighty, announcing to the world. Then everyone in the Void God realm was dumbfounded. These two brothers are going to defy the heavens. Taihao Xiaohao, peerless geniuses, both of them breaking the record, a grand occasion for all eternity. These two brothers are only around 5 years old. Their futures are limitless. The person with dual pupils has met a challenge. Yes, when these two brothers grow up, they definitely won't be any worse than the person with dual pupils. Seeing the monument hanging high in the sky and hearing the announcement, the Void God realm was in an uproar. Damn it! Where did this evil creature come from? He actually broke Little Yi's record? This is really preposterous. In the Rain Clan's encampment in the Void God realm, an old man fiercely smashed the table in front of him, unable to restrain his anger. Tai Hao, Xiao Hao. These two names remind me of a certain damn brat. It makes me very uncomfortable. The old man turned his head and looked at the other clan members below. His face was malevolent and twisted. These two mountain kids actually dare to compete with Little? They really don't know the difference between life and death. These two brats must have eaten some heavenly treasure to make their physical strength incomparably tyrannical. However, for a cultivator, treasured arts and divine abilities were the strongest power. No matter how strong their bodies are, without treasured techniques, they're only ants in the end. Little E will definitely be the supreme expert of this age. If you want to challenge Little Yi's position, you have to be alive first. Chapter 583. Young Masters, please come over for a chat. Have the two of you ever been engaged? Our family head has a pair of pearls who are about the same age as you two. It can be said that they are a perfect match. Chi, that pair of pearls in your palms is almost 18 years old. How old are the two young masters? About the same age? Are you blind? Bastard. Preposterous. Compliments, quarrels, and curses could be heard all around. Xiao Hao and Tai Hao looked at each other. They both knew that things had gotten a bit out of hand. There might be countless people pestering them later. Run. For the devilish brats, running was a necessary skill. With a loud shout, the two of them jumped up and rushed out, escaping like a wisp of smoke. Ha ha ha! After running for countless li and shaking off the crowd behind them, the two of them looked at each other and laughed. It's about time for today. It's not good for our souls to leave our bodies for too long. Let's go back first. The two of them had caused too much of a commotion. Once they showed themselves, countless people would pester them. It was really tiring to deal with them. Xiao Hao planned to go back first and wait until this matter calmed down. It's good to go back first. Little Stone nodded in agreement. He called out in his mind, Willow Deity, I'm going back. With a flash of green light, Little Stone's figure instantly disappeared. Did Willow Deity open up the Void God realm for him? Xiao Hao understood when he saw this. Then I'll go back too. With a wave of his hand, a door appeared in front of him. Xiao Hao stepped into the door and disappeared as well. The two of them left the Void God realm, but they didn't know that rumors about them had spread throughout the Void God realm. Did you know? Tai Hao and Xiao Hao are just two mountain kids. They found a peerless divine treasury, which was why their bodies were reborn. Their bodies became so tyrannical. Yes, I heard about it too. A world-shaking divine treasury that was reborn. It's said that this divine treasury came from the Western sect. It has the indestructible golden body medicine, which can be used to refine the body and make it indestructible. Moreover, it has the Western sect's peerless divine abilities, such as the Great Peacock King's Treasure Technique, the Great Golden Rock King's Treasure Technique, and even the 8-treasure Golden Lotus Technique. These two brats only have tyrannical bodies, but they don't know any precious talisman techniques. In the end, he was just a kid from the mountains. He was too inexperienced and couldn't recognize runes. If we can catch them. I couldn't find their origins. However, as long as we discover them in the faux god world, we will have ways to deal with them. No one knew where this rumor came from, but it quickly spread throughout the faux god world. Countless people's hearts stirred, and they began to scheme for the so-called world-shocking divine treasury. The undercurrent in the void god world was turbulent, but the two people involved were completely unaware of it. 2 days passed. After returning, little Shirtu waited for 2 days. He was a little impatient. Xiao, let's go in and play again. The Void God Realm was such a fun place. Little Shirtu had endured it for 2 days, so his heart was itching to go. Going now. Isn't it too early? It had only been 2 days, but the two of them had continuously broken records and even trampled the man with double pupils under their feet. This kind of popularity wasn't something that could be quelled in a mere 2 days. Isn't it just being pestered? We'll just ignore it. All right, Xiao Hao thought about it. In any case, they would just be annoyed for a while. It wasn't a big deal. Then let's go in, right? Do you want to go in from my place or Willow Deity's place? I've already come to your place, so I'll go from your place. Little Shirtu didn't want to waste a moment. That's fine too. Xiao Hao waved his hand, and a brilliant light flashed. The entire crafting pavilion was enveloped in the light. Little Shitu's soul shook, and he found himself in front of an enormous palace. Where's this? Little Shirtu pointed at the palace in front of him and asked in surprise. Supreme Palace. Yes, this place is very similar to the faux god world. It's also a spiritual world. In Xiao Hao's opinion, the Supreme Palace that appeared in his mind was the same as the faux god world. They were both spiritual worlds. Come, you can enter the faux god world from here. After entering the palace, Xiao Hao brought little Shirtu to a huge stone door that flickered with light. After passing through this door, you'll reach the faux god world. Your place is quite convenient. Little Shirtu rushed to the stone door in a few steps and waved at Xiao Hao. Come quickly. Then, he stepped through the stone door and entered the faux god world. This is the runic passage to dig up the treasured bones. Little Shirtu looked at the familiar platform beneath his feet and was surprised to find that the platform that they had broken twice had completely recovered. There are no traces of it being broken at all. This is interesting. Little Shirtu stared at the platform that had been broken in the past in surprise and observed it with interest. He even reached out to touch the platform's floor. Another one wants to break the platform. A cultivator passing by saw little Shirtu's actions and sneered. Little guy, stop dreaming. Do you think you're Tai Hao and Xiao Hao? Don't even think about breaking the record. I'm Tai Hao to begin with. Little Shirtu blinked and raised his head to look at the cultivator passing by. You mean Xiao Hao? He's coming. At this time, Xiao Hao's figure had just stepped out of the passage. Hearing little Shirtu calling him, he quickly replied, I'm already here. You guys, the cultivator passing by was stunned for a while and then exclaimed, Tai Hao? Xiao Hao? Ha ha ha. You guys are here? That's great. That's great. I'm in luck today. The cultivator's face was wild with joy and his eyes lit up. He pointed at Xiao Hao and Tai Hao and shouted, Little guy, hand over the world's shocking treasure. What treasure? Little Shirtu turned his head to look at Xiao Hao, his head full of confusion. How would I know what he's talking about? Xiao Hao shrugged and spread out his hands. You two mountain kids still dare to be stubborn? Go to hell. The cultivator roared angrily, and the runes on his body shone brightly. A flame shot up into the sky and swept toward the two. Why are you hitting people? Little Shirtu was unable to restrain his anger. He raised a small hand and shouted, If you want to hit me, I'll hit back. He's obviously looking for trouble. Why are you still talking nonsense with him? Xiao Hao roared, and his body flashed with golden light. He took a step forward, and his figure crashed into the flames. Eat my fist. The fist flashing with golden light smashed out and dispersed the flames with a boom. It hit the cultivator's chest hard. Boom! With a loud explosion, the cultivator was sent flying by Xiao Hao's punch and spat out blood all the way. Cough, cough, cough. The cultivator coughed violently and spat out blood. His face was as pale as paper. It was obvious that he was severely injured and would not live for long. Dying in the void god realm would only damage one's divine soul, unless it was specifically targeted at the divine soul. The cultivator was about to die, but he did not let Xiao Hao and Tai Hao have it easy. Tai Hao and Xiao Hao are here. With his last breath, the cultivator roared and his voice spread far and wide. What? You found Xiao Hao and Tai Hao? Where are they? Over there. Over there. They're at the rune passage. The world-shocking treasure is with them. Snatch it. In an instant, countless cultivators in the starting ground howled and rushed toward the two like a tide. Xiao Hao, we didn't do anything bad, right? Little Shirtu looked at the scene in front of him and felt that it was ridiculous. They don't come with good intentions. Tai Hao prepared to fight. Xiao Hao's face was cold as a mighty divine light surged. No matter who is scheming against us, I'll make them pay the price. Then we'll wipe them out. Little Shirtu roared and raised his fist. Air bows, the correct way to turn over a salted fish, was very good. Chapter 584. Little brat, hand over the world-shocking treasure. One of the cultivators at the front of the crowd let out a loud roar. A thorny vine covered in thorns appeared in his hand and swept towards the two of them. The thorns were green, but the thorns on it were blood red. This was a treasure refined from a bloodthirsty, demonic vine. Not only was it extremely poisonous, once the thorns pierced into the body, the demonic vine would continuously absorb the blood. It was extremely sinister. Bastard! Little Sure too let out an angry roar. His mighty chi and blood soared into the sky. He took a step forward, and his body soared into the air like a rock spreading its wings. He dodged the thorny vines and threw a heavy punch at this person. Bang! The sound of bones breaking and blood splattered everywhere as the figure flew out. As expected, only the body is strong, but you don't know any treasure techniques. Catch them. Even though he killed a cultivator in one blow, the others became even crazier. Tai Hao, don't be lenient. Xiao Hao saw the situation in front of him and knew that there was no way out. He shouted at Little Stone, and the blood energy in his body surged. A vast golden light swept out like a raging tide. Kill! Both of them had more than 150,000 pounds of physical strength. In the starting ground, where only the blood movement realm could be used, 150,000 pounds of physical strength had already exceeded the limit of the blood movement realm. After they unleashed their fists and palms and unleashed their strength, the cultivators that swarmed over were simply no match for the two of them. With one punch, they would vomit blood and fall to the ground. With one palm, they would die. Under the boundless power, the two were like tigers in a flock of sheep. With just a slight touch, one would die if they were to be brushed by it. Destruction Monarch Fist. Gully Monarch Fist. The worldly immortal martial Dao taught by Liu not only included body refinement techniques, but also combat techniques. It came from the world of the champion Marquis. It was the killing fist technique of the 5 archaic demon gods. In the hands of the two little guys, it displayed endless divine power. It was not a treasure technique, and there were no runes. However, in the starting ground where the strength was limited to the blood movement realm, other than the strength of one's body, no other power could exceed the limit of the blood movement realm. Therefore, this kind of pure martial Dao fist technique was based on the strength of the body's blood energy. In this environment, it was the strongest power. Godly destructive might. A fist smashed out, and a talisman-treasured artifact exploded with a loud bang, turning into specks of light that filled the sky and dissipated. Gully Dampa. His mighty chi and blood erupted like a volcano, shaking the heavens and the earth. Tai Hao Xiao Hao's divine might was overwhelming, and he was invincible. It's too scary. It's too scary. At the edge of the city of the starting ground, 2 old fellows were leaning against the wall with their arms crossed. They were looking at the battlefield in front of them with a smirk on their faces as they cracked melon seeds and pointed at the battlefield. One of the old men had a bird perched on his shoulder. The other old man was skinny and had a wretched look on his face. "Bird Grandpa, look, those 2 brats' fist techniques seem to have some skill. Did you see anything?" The skinny and wretched old man spat out a mouthful of melon seed shells and said vaguely, "I can't tell. All right, I'm not called Bird Grandpa. Mother asterisk her, coin Grandpa. When did this old man get the title of Bird Grandpa?" The old man with a bird on his shoulder glared fiercely at the wretched old man. Scram. This old man is also not called coin Grandpa. The wretched old man rolled his eyes and continued to crack melon seeds while watching the show. TSK, TSK. Too tragic. Too tragic. Look, a single slap was enough to make someone explode. It's too tragic. It's nothing if people die. They can recover after a year or so. However, the rune treasures were all destroyed. This is a bit tragic. That's true. The rune treasures that can enter the void god realm are all treasures that have developed spirituality. After their spirituality is destroyed, it won't be so easy to recover. Amidst the discussion of the 2 wretched old men, the 2 little fellows were invincible. They beat the group of cultivators who wanted to take advantage of them until they wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves. Corpses littered the field. The great battle lasted for less than an hour. When the last few remaining cultivators fled in panic, the inexplicable battle finally came to an end. That's it. Coin Grandpa spat out a mouthful of melon seed shells and blinked his eyes, as if he hadn't had enough. It's still early. Look, aren't there people coming over there? Bird Lord pointed with his finger. Countless runes intertwined in the sky, and a huge spell formation opened. Numerous figures with powerful auras rushed out from the spell formation. The insect race, the Li race, the Meng race, and the Yuan race. The four great families of the great wilderness are here. A huge floating Dharma artifact flew through the air. The people of the four great families split into four directions, surrounding Tai Hao and Xiao Hao. Your Tai Hao and Xiao Hao? An old man from the insect race stood on a fiery red feather as he looked at the two of them with arrogance. Mountain barbarians, although you have some brute strength, you're still not strong enough. If you know what's good for you, hand over the world's shocking treasure, and I'll spare your lives. Otherwise, the old man snorted, and a few dark red needles appeared in his hand. It's not impossible to kill in the Void God realm. That's right, someone from the Li race said. The insect race has the god-destroying needles, and we have the soul-suppressing tablet. This is the soul-suppressing bowl. Someone from the Meng race raised a black bowl. The soul-dispersing drum of the Abyss race. We won't embarrass ourselves with it. A man from the Abyss race in a black robe looked at Xiao Hao and Tai Hao and sneered. If I say we don't have any world-shocking treasures, I'm sure you won't believe me, right? Xiao Hao looked at the soul-destroying Dharma artifacts, and his eyes turned cold. Murderous intent rose in his heart. Humph! Hearing Xiao Hao's words, the four great families snorted. If that's the case, Xiao Hao and Tai Hao looked at each other and nodded. Then we can only fight. Fight? With just you two? The four great families floated in the air, and everyone looked at Xiao Hao and Tai Hao with disdain. As far as they were concerned, Xiao Hao and Tai Hao were only physically strong, relying on physical strength alone. Although his combat strength was extraordinary, there was also a fatal flaw. That was they couldn't fly. Everyone from the four great families flew in the air with levitation Dharma artifacts and kept attacking with rune Dharma artifacts. The two little guys who could only take a beating and couldn't fight back would only have a tragic ending. Yes, with just us. Little Stone roared, and a brilliant golden light burst out from his back. A pair of wings spread out with a swoosh, and his figure whistled into the sky. Wings of Ingzhao, sky-splitting sword slash. His figure swept through the air like lightning. The wings spread out, and the sword chi was like a rainbow. Endless streaks of light gathered like feathers, forming a huge pair of wings. It slashed down viciously at the flying ritual artifact of the Li clan up ahead. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. The Li clan's flying Dharma artifact exploded with a bang. It was shattered by the heavenly sword wing. Ah! The raging sword chi whistled. After the flying Dharma artifact was shattered, the Li clan people screamed and fell. Thousand Feather Sword. The feathers spread out, and endless sword chi burst out violently, sweeping out like a storm. Green Pung treasure technique, endless storm. Wind blades swept out, covering the sky and covering the earth. Little Stone beat a drowning dog and killed in all directions. 3 big moves were released in a row, and the Li clan was completely wiped out. Chapter 585. Since Little Stone had made his move, Xiao Hao naturally wouldn't stay idle. Swoosh! A pair of wings also rushed out of Xiao Hao's back. His figure was like lightning as he instantly rushed above the Yuan clan's floating device. Power of Earth, Mount Tai Crush. He waved his fist, and a golden divine mountain appeared. The huge divine mountain fiercely smashed onto the floating device. Boom! With a shocking explosion, the Yuan clan's floating device exploded. A large group of Yuan clan members screamed and fell from the sky. Dragon Sun Tao Tai, sky-shaking roar. The huge shadow of Tao Tai appeared above Xiao Hao's head and let out a shocking roar that shook heaven and earth. The Abyss tribe members who had fallen from the sky were struck by the soul-shaking power, and their eyes rolled back into their heads as they felt dizzy. Thousand Feather Sword. How could Xiao Hao let them land safely after eradicating all evil? Endless Sword Light swept out. Weight of Mount Tai, sky-shaking roar, and then Thousand Feather Sword. After a round of attacks, the entire Yuan clan was wiped out in an instant. This is too terrifying. The power of the two people burst out and destroyed two big families in the blink of an eye. Such monstrous power was simply unimaginable. At the starting ground, countless people who were watching this scene were shocked and tongue-tied. Green Rock Treasure Technique, Taodai Treasure Technique, and Baxia Treasure Technique. Bird Lord opened his mouth and sucked in a breath of cold air. My God, 3 true spirit treasure techniques. Are these two guys the descendants of the ancient country's human emperor? Those 2 pairs of wings are not simple things either. Wings of Yingzhao, divine spirit realm wings of Yingzhao. These little bastards even had a divine artifact in each of their hands. Which family released them? This is too deceptive. Coin Elder even forgot to spit out the melon seed shell. He was chewing on it, and the shell got stuck in his old teeth. It hurt so much that he grimaced. Hey, old ghost, do you have a toothache? Bird Grandpa asked curiously. Yes, a toothache. Coin Elder rolled his eyes. Those 2 little bastards are full of treasures, but I don't dare to provoke them. What a toothache. Yes. CK. Bird Grandpa slapped the bird on his shoulder and sent it flying because bird poop landed on his neck. We've been set up. At this time, everyone knew that Xiao Hao and Tai Hao must have extraordinary origins. It was impossible for them to be mountain barbarians. Does your barbarian have 3 true spirit treasure techniques? Every one of your mountain barbarians has a divine artifact. If these are all mountain barbarians, then what are we? For a treasure of this level, apart from an ancient country's mortal emperor or a sacred mountain's holy ground, who else would have such a deep foundation? Retreat. Retreat. In just a blink of an eye, only 2 out of the 4 clans were left. The remaining Meng clan and Insect clan clans were shivering in fear. They knew that they had messed with an iron plate this time. After provoking such an extraordinary character, they already wanted to cry, but had no tears. You want to run? It's too late. Golden wings whistled through the air as the 2 figures crossed each other. Wings of Yingzhao, space-splitting sword. Xiao Hao's figure flashed past, and the sharp sword wings slashed down, shattering the Insect clan's flying artifact. Baxia's divine might, mountain shifting technique. Divine light flashed, and golden light filled the sky. Little Stone also cultivated the Baxia's paragon skill. He punched out, and a divine mountain appeared, crushing the Insect clan's paragon skill. After Little Stone's attack, Xiao Hao turned around and flew over. Green Peng's paragon skill, Endless Storm. Xiao Hao waved his hands, and wind blades filled the sky. The pure-blooded true spirit's paragon skill, the top inheritance and the ultimate power. With a series of attacks, the Insect clan was annihilated. It's a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Young masters. The only remaining Meng clan's paragon skill was already pale with fright, and he begged for mercy. Misunderstanding? I'm sorry, I misunderstood too. Xiao Hao sneered. Vast and mighty divine splendor soared into the sky. A golden divine mountain ruthlessly smashed down. Mount Tai Crush. The immense power crushed the Meng clan's flying artifact. The Meng clan's paragon skill was struck by the immense power, and blood spurted out from their mouths. Green Peng's paragon skill, Endless Storm. Little Stone turned around and attacked with the Green Peng's paragon skill. Another attack. Xiao Hao roared, and wind blades filled the sky. The 2 of them attacked with the Green Peng's paragon skill at the same time, and 2 tornadoes appeared. Under the wind blades, no one survived. At this point, the 4 clans were completely annihilated. Who else? Who else wants to take our treasures? Two young figures floated in the sky with their golden wings spread out. They were shining brightly, and they looked majestic. After a shout, the surroundings were dead silent, and no one dared to answer. Looking down on the world, the heroes were helpless. Tai Xiaohao's power was unstoppable, and no one could defeat him. Too terrifying, too terrifying. The four clans were annihilated, and there were thousands of wandering cultivators who were wiped out by them. After this battle, corpses are everywhere. Where did the rumors come from? What mountain barbarians? They are clearly peerless geniuses from the sacred grounds. Tai Xiaohao, his name is known throughout the world. The man with dual pupils is facing a challenge. Among the heavens chosen of the age, two more new talents have appeared. In this battle, Tai Xiaohao made a name for himself. They broke records consecutively, and even the records of the man with dual pupils were refreshed by the two of them. Tai Hao and Xiaohao's potential and strength have been recognized by everyone. However, after this time, no one came forward to try to rope them in. They had 3 true spirit paragon skills, and each of them had a divine artifact. None of the great sects in the Holy Land would be able to come up with something like this. The two of them obviously had a powerful background, and no one wanted to take them in. Xiaohao, let's go back. There's nothing interesting here. After the battle, Little Stone also felt a little tired. It was not physical exhaustion, but mental exhaustion. Little Stone, who had always been carefree, felt a heavy pain when he recalled the memory of his supreme bone being dug out. However, today's experience also made him feel very uncomfortable. All right, Xiaohao nodded and brought Little Stone to the platform of the rune passage. He waved his hand. An array of golden light turned into a huge door. The two of them stepped out and instantly left the void god realm. That door, as expected of an extraordinary background, it's comparable to a sacred ground. This kind of passage that was opened alone in the void god realm was not something that ordinary people could have. The grand battle between Tai Xiaohao and Xiaohao finally came to an end. These two little fellows really made a name for themselves. Liu saw this scene and nodded with a smile. This battle allowed you to gain some training, but it's still not enough. Looking in the direction of the faux god world, Liu smiled. The current faux god world still doesn't meet my requirements, so I still have to upgrade it. Chapter 586. Only through more intense battles can one obtain true growth. Liu looked up at the faux god world with a strange smile on his face. Speaking of more intense battles, is there anything that can compare to the game world? So, the final battle of Shabak. Release your passion and hot-bloodedness. Vast and mighty divine soul power surged out and engulfed the entire faux god world. The game is going to be upgraded. The system is going to be updated. The server is going to be shut down. Liu's divine soul appeared in the faux god world. He smiled as he looked at the virtual world and softly uttered a word. Freeze! A single word was the law of the world. Black and white yin and yang energies swept through the world and enveloped the entire faux god world. Time froze, and everything returned to stillness. In the blink of an eye, everything in the faux god world stopped. I can start the modification now. Liu reached out and grabbed. 8 balls of light flew out from various parts of the faux god world and landed in his hand. These are the so-called 8 domain masters of the faux god world. The faux god world corresponded to the real world and had 8 regions. Looking at the 8 balls of light in his hand, Liu smiled. The materialization of laws is suitable for modifying the faux god world. The so-called domain masters were the materialization of the laws of the faux god world. There were a total of 8 domain masters in the 8 regions. They were responsible for maintaining the order of the faux god world and operating the laws of the faux god world. Law decomposition. With a wave of his hand, the black and white yin and yang energies brushed past. The 8 balls of light instantly decomposed and turned into law lines. The law structure I'm most familiar with is the net. Whether it was the net of the origin world or the sorcerer world's magic net, Liu had fiddled with them before. He was more familiar with the laws of this net-like structure. Inescapable net go. Yin and yang energies swept up. The law lines formed by the balls of light intertwined and merged with each other, turning into an invisible and formless lawn net. Inescapable net, penetrate heaven and earth. Grabbing the net, Shao Chun sent it into the faux god world. It penetrated heaven and earth, and everything in the faux god world fell into the net's control. In the name of the Grand Supreme, reconstruct the laws. The yin and yang qi rushed into the net. According to Li Yu's idea, the so-called holographic game was reconstructed. There are humans and outsiders in the 8 realms. There are also many ancient countries, great sects, divine mountains, and holy lands. The power structure was complicated. Therefore, this is a free-for-all game. In order to make the battle more intense, killing monsters and killing people to drop equipment is a must. A strange smile appeared on Li Yu's face. Once this setting of killing monsters and killing them was released, the entire Void God world would definitely be engulfed in the flames of war. Then, all the great domains became enemies with each other. In each domain, different races were at odds with each other. Within the same race, the major powers were hostile to each other. Killing an enemy could earn you glory. Honor points can be used to exchange for techniques and treasures. This setting would definitely cause the flames of war in the world to burn even more fiercely. In addition to the arena setting, the instance dungeon setting, and the squad quest setting. As for the level setting, it will be based on the level of cultivation techniques in the real world. Apart from that, we need to lure in some wild monsters. After putting the information of the various strange beasts and ferocious birds in the 8 regions into the faux god world, they would become wild beasts that constantly refreshed. Let's add another war setting. There will be a race war every year. The human race will be the alliance, and the other races will be the tribes. There will be a foreign war every 3 years. The 8 great domains will be at war with each other. Once the great battlefield was released, the great battle of the world would begin. Compared to the so-called 100-race battlefield, it would be even more intense here. Each domain will set up an imperial city. Capture the imperial city and defend it for 3 months. Then, you will be rewarded with all sorts of treasures and treasures. Alright, this was really the final battle of Shabak. As for the fundamental rules of the Void God world, Li Yu did not touch them. This was because the Void God world had an extraordinary origin and was of great significance. After doing all this, Li Yu waved his hand and activated the new game world. Game upgrade complete. Have a good time. The stagnant world started moving again. The people who stayed in the Void God world did not know that this world had been changed beyond recognition. When the Void God realm started to operate again, everyone was stunned by the sudden change. Enemy cultivators discovered. Do you want to attack? Regardless of whether it was in the city or in the wilderness, people were shocked to discover that figures flickering with red light appeared one after another beside them. People from different countries, different sect, and different clans suddenly discovered that they were all enemies. Roar. The cultivators in the wilderness suddenly discovered that all sorts of ferocious beasts and birds of prey had appeared beside them. Kill. In this world where strength was respected, the battles between cultivators almost did not need a reason. Thus, the flames of war were ignited all over the Void God world. Kill. A cultivator killed an enemy cultivator with a sword, and then the person who was killed dropped a weapon. The victor also received honor points. Honor points can be exchanged for all sorts of materials and treasures. Killing an enemy can give them treasures. This discovery made the flames of war even more intense. Driven by greed, they needed an excuse to fight in the past. Now, they did not even need an excuse. He has treasures on him. Kill. Damn it. I am from the Rain Clan. You dare, warriors of the Stone Kingdom, kill the thieves of the Greenwood Kingdom. You humans dare to attack the people of the primordial Divine Mountain? Personal grudges, family feuds, national conflicts, and racial conflicts, driven by greed, the flames of war swirled in the Void God world, and the fighting was a complete mess. Sky Sovereign, what are you trying to do by doing this? In the ruined, battlefield of gods. Willow deity frowned as she looked at the flames of war swirling in the void god world. She was somewhat speechless as she rubbed her forehead. Of course, it's to train soldiers. Liu chuckled and appeared beside Willow deity. Don't you think that in this kind of environment where danger lurks everywhere and the flames of war burn the sky, it's easier to train people? Sky Sovereign, are you planning to let Little Stone and Xiaohao gain experience here? Willow deity nodded. She had to admit that this kind of place, where there was no need for a reason, was indeed very good at training people. It's not just the two of them. There are so many people in Stone Village. Can't they all go there to train? At this point, Liu let out a long sigh, and a compassionate look appeared on his face. Darkness is coming, and a catastrophe is coming. If you don't train a strong army, even if you have the destiny of quelling the source of darkness, Little Stone will definitely struggle. Sky's sovereign, since ancient times, there have been countless dark catastrophes. What exactly is the source of darkness? Willow deity was also someone who had experienced the immortal ancient Great War. She had also once dominated the darkness. However, even she was not sure what the source of darkness was. An immortal emperor who was corroded by darkness. In addition, there is an even more terrifying world above the high heavens. That is the source of all darkness. Liu thought of the immortal emperor who had gone mad because of a drop of otherworldly black blood. He shook his head speechlessly. It's actually an immortal emperor, and the source of darkness above the high heavens? Willow deity's beautiful face revealed a look of shock. An existence like an immortal emperor was simply a supreme existence throughout history. They were invincible in the world. One strike could destroy the greater world, collapse time and space, and destroy heaven and earth. Moreover, there was the so-called above the high heavens. Could Little Stone quell such a dark catastrophes? Only an immortal emperor could fight against an immortal emperor. Could Little Stone become an immortal emperor? Willow deity was also once an immortal king. The Grand Empyrean in front of her was also an immortal king. At this level, Willow deity naturally knew how difficult it was to become an immortal emperor. It was simply hopeless. She could not see any possibility. He can become an immortal emperor? Willow deity sighed and shook her head. Perhaps this was just an effort by the Grand Empyrean to deal with the dark catastrophes. Everyone had to have some hope. It is the only hope to quell the darkness. Liu was naturally full of confidence in Little Stone. From the later generation to the ancient chaos, Heavenly Emperor Huang's achievements were already a fact. His great achievements in conquering the source of darkness had shocked both ancient and modern times. I will support your plan. Willow deity nodded and then continued. However, I also have my own way of dealing with it. I will also try according to my own ideas. Of course, Liu understood this very well. Willow deity was also once an immortal king. It was impossible that she did not have her own ideas. Even if she trusted Liu's judgment, she still had to do her best. She could not place her hopes on others. The conversation about fate and the future ended here. After saying goodbye to each other, they went their separate ways. The wheels of history were also rolling forward. Other than the flames of war in the void god world, it seemed like nothing had changed. It also seemed like everything had changed. Chapter 587. Supreme Palace Martial Arts Field. After Xiaohao left the Void God world and returned to Stone Village's crafting pavilion, the Supreme Palace in his mind activated a new building. The so-called Martial Arts Field is actually a portal built in Stone Village that connects to the Void God world. Alright, Liu was lazy about this martial arts practice field, since the faux God world had been transformed into a war-filled game world. If Stone Village's people wanted to train their battle experience, they could directly go to the Void God world. There was no need to set up a virtual world. This martial arts field is very necessary. After Xiaohao fought in the Void God world, he found that his battle experience had increased. This place was also a very good training ground for Stone Village's people. Grandpa Chief, I plan to build a portal to the Void God world in the village so that everyone can increase their knowledge and battle strength. Xiaohao found the old chief and explained his intentions. Void God World. Is that the place Little Stone went to? I heard Little Stone say that this place is very useful. The old chief wasn't an ignorant person and naturally knew the benefits of the Void God World. He was very supportive of Xiaohao's suggestion. There are still some empty old houses in the village. Do you need me to call people to build a new door? Child, just tell us what you need us to do. The villagers don't have any other skills, but they do have a lot of strength. After cultivating the human immortal martial Tao and eating the flesh of archaic descendants, the men and women of Stone Village couldn't be weak even if they wanted to. No need to trouble everyone. As long as there is an empty house, it's fine. The Supreme Palace's building, under the ancestral master's power of fortune, as long as the materials were provided, it could be built without needing to do anything. Okay then. The old chief brought Xiaohao to the back mountain of the village and found an old house near the crafting pavilion. These old houses are all empty. If you want to use them in the future, just use them. Okay, then I'll start. Xiaohao greeted the old chief and waved his hand to release a 5-colored light that enveloped the old house in front of him. Boom! A brilliant light flashed, and the old house made of limestone instantly disintegrated. Amidst the boundless brilliance, a simple and unadorned hall rose from the ground. The main hall was built against the mountain. Its doors were wide open, revealing a huge hall. Hundreds of futons were neatly arranged in the hall. It's done. The multicolored light dispersed, and Xiaohao said to the old chief, "Everyone, enter this hall and meditate on the praying mat. Then, your divine soul can leave your body and enter the Void God realm." Good, good. Thank you for your hard work, child. After this palace was built, Stone Village's people could enter the Void God realm at any time. The old patriarch was very happy about this. "Everyone, come here." The old chief shouted towards the village. "Xiaohao has finished building the gate to the Void God realm. Let's go there and broaden our horizons." They're here. They're here. We can also go to the Void God realm. Stone Village's men and women, old and young, all gathered around. According to Xiaohao's instructions, they each found a praying mat and sat down cross-legged. Is everyone ready? I'm going to open the portal. Xiaohao greeted everyone, then waved his hand to open the passageway to the Void God realm. Buzz, a brilliant radiance filled the air, and the entire hall was shrouded in a dense cloud of light. Dong, a bell rang, and within the cloud of light, a huge portal appeared. Everyone's divine soul left their bodies and involuntarily flew towards that portal. Within the flickering light, everyone passed through the portal and arrived at a new world. Boom! Thunder exploded, and a charred figure miserably fell onto the ground. Toba Clan's thief, hand over your life. Streaks of light whistled through the air, and a group of people fought in midair until the sky darkened. Heaven-mending Pavilion's disciples, quickly gather. Zhilu Academy wants to fight with us. A Heaven-mending Pavilion's disciple raised a large banner and loudly shouted. Stone Country's South Protecting Marquis is recruiting heroes from all over the world. My Stone Country's hot-blooded men quickly follow this marquis to suppress the Southern Seas thieves. A general in full armor held a dazzling golden notice in his hand as he loudly shouted, "Human race's scum, do you dare to fight with my demonic spirit lake?" A spider bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws clamored in midair. This place, Stone Village's people saw everything in front of them and were a bit stunned. This place is the Void God realm. It seems like it's quite lively. Shirlinghu twisted his neck and grinned. And this fight is quite exciting. This, Xiaohao and Lil Stone looked at each other in dismay. The Void God realm we saw before didn't seem to be this chaotic. Child, what is this symbol above our heads? The old chief pointed at his own head and also pointed at the others. Above Stone Village's heads, there was a symbol that was about a foot large. On this square symbol, there was a green willow tree. We don't know either. Xiaohao and Little Stone were dumbstruck. It had only been a few days since they entered the Void God realm. How could there be such a big change? The symbol of a willow tree? I've never heard of such a symbol, right? It should be a new small clan or sect. While Stone Village's people were still in a daze, a few people near the starting ground's runic passage continuously glanced at Stone Village's direction with flickering eyes. Child, these people don't seem to have good intentions towards us. The old patriarch looked around and took in the expressions of the people around him. Everyone be careful. We don't know what happened either. Xiao Hao reminded everyone and secretly increased their vigilance. A small clan that even has a child. They probably don't know about the changes in the Void God realm, right? Hee hee. Honor points delivered to our door. Then let's destroy them. Kill. Without any reason, without any excuse, and without any communication, a battle suddenly broke out. In the blink of an eye, a change occurred. A large group of people waved their weapons and roared as they charged towards Stone Village's people. Is there a battle here? The old chief frowned and raised the mountain-moving whip in his hand. Prepare for battle. Armor. Raise the troops. Formation. Ling Hu's hands revealed a pair of malevolent beast claws as he roared towards the sky. Kill. Kill. Pieces of fire crow, feathered clothes exploded with runes, blossoming with brilliant flames. Spears and spears stood like a forest. Wipe out the bandits. I'm invincible. Stone Village's army had just entered the Void God realm and erupted with a peerless divine might. Green Pung treasure technique, endless storm. One rune after another soared into the sky, and endless wind blades covered the sky and covered the earth. Thousand feather sword. A pair of wings appear behind Little Stone's back, and countless sword lights swept out like a furious tide. High sky shaking roar. Xiao Hao roared towards the sky, the mighty sound waves shaking the heaven and earth. Swan and I treasure mirror, lightning thousandly. Fire crow talisman, raging flames burning the heavens. Fire bull treasure artifact, lava eruption. Demonic ape bone dark curse. For artifacts refined from archaic descendant treasure bones in the hands of the old chief, and the others erupted with a monstrous divine might. Wave after wave of attacks, the enemies were annihilated. Tai Hao, Xiao Hao, damn it, it's actually Tai Hao and Xiao Hao's clan. Run, quickly run. With their iconic golden wings and terrifying true spirit treasure techniques, Stone Village's people erupted with a peerless divine might that scared the surrounding people witless as they fled. Chapter 588. Clean up the battlefield. After wiping out these mobs, no one dared to provoke Stone Village's army. Even the demonic spirit Lake Spider Spirit that was shouting, "Who dares to fight?" quieted down and quietly slipped away. After wiping out a group of enemies, Stone Village's people were shocked to find that everyone's honor points increased. Then a pile of weapons, treasures, and materials dropped on the ground. Old man, those emitting red light are all enemies. Also, fighting is very profitable. Seeing the introduction of honor points and the equipment and materials he collected, Ling Hu's eyes lit up. He rubbed his hands, eager to give it a try. Kid, if you die in here, you're not really dead, right? The old patriarch turned his head and asked Xiao Hao. Yes. Xiao Hao nodded. We entered the Void God realm through the martial arts practice field. With the martial arts practice field's protection, even if others use things like spirit-destroying needles, they won't really injure our souls. Liu came to train his troops, so he naturally wouldn't let Stone Village's people suffer any real injuries. The martial arts practice field of the Supreme Palace gave everyone a layer of protection. That's good, since they wouldn't really lose people. This kind of place where the flames of war raged and they fought whenever they saw each other was suitable for Stone Village's people to train. Our Stone Village once shook the great desolate lands. Now that Stone Village has risen again, it's time to revive the glory of our ancestors. The old chief took a deep breath and raised the mountain-moving whip in his hand. He faced the sky and roared, "Wipe out the enemies. Kill." An angry dragon came out of its shackles, and a fierce tiger came out of its cage. The cultivation of the worldly, immortal martial path and the flesh of archaic descendants allowed every stone village member to reach the late stage of blood movement. Moreover, their physical strength was incomparably strong, and they also had several true spirit treasure techniques and all kinds of talisman treasures in their hands. The stone village army was armed to the teeth. In the starting ground, where the strongest was only at the blood movement realm, they were simply unreasonably strong. How long? Like a flood sweeping through heaven and earth, endless wind blades, sky full of thunder, and sky overflowing flames. The stone village army ruthlessly killed their way into the starting ground, setting off the flames of war. Ah, damn, too strong. One after another, cultivators, clans, and powers were swept through by Stone Village's army, completely wiping them out. According to the Void God Realm's new settings, apart from Stone Village's own people, everyone in this world, all powers, all sects, all families, were all enemies. Stone Village's army slaughtered their way through. They really killed anyone they saw, chopped anyone they saw. Bastards, we are from a martial imperial mansion of the Stone Country. How dare you? Although the name Martial Imperial Mansion made little sure to frown, the sword wings in his hand did not have the slightest bit of hesitation. We are the Rain Clan. When he heard the name Rain Clan, Little Shidu's attacks became even heavier. Damn it, our demonic spirit lake will not let you off. A huge spider was directly flattened by Xiao Hao's slap. Powerful indeed, terrifying indeed. Was this Tai Hao and Xiao Hao's family? Truly brutal. In the starting ground, on the rooftop of the city, Bird Grandpa and Coin Elder were sitting on the roof eating melon seeds. Seeing the fierce attacks of Stone Village's people, even the two old ghosts couldn't help but tremble. Old Ghost, what happened in the Void God Realm? How did everything change in the blink of an eye? Bird Grandpa shook his head, somewhat unable to make heads or tails of the situation. What's so strange about this? Coin Elder rolled his eyes. The wall of gods and devils, that kind of immemorial weapon training ground, even existed. Is it strange that the Void God Realm became a new weapon training ground? But the Void God Realm has changed, and even we don't know what happened, we are the protectors of the Void God Realm. If the Void God Realm changed, then the sealed ground wouldn't. Bird Grandpa rubbed his temples, feeling a bit of a headache. Idiot! Since even we don't know what happened, you still can't figure out the origin of the people who attacked? Don't meddle, or else. Before Coin Elder finished his words, he suddenly discovered that the surroundings were deathly silent. The entire world seemed to have stopped, and everything became still. GMs cannot participate in the game. A strange voice rang out in the two's ears. Boundless light flickered, and space and time changed. In the blink of an eye, Coin Elder and Bird Grandpa arrived in a strange primal chaos space. A white-robed figure stood with his hands behind his back in the primal chaos space. Beneath his feet was the vast world of the Void God Realm with countless living beings. This figure walked on the sky, standing above all living beings. He was glorious and majestic, the only sovereign in all eternity. This figure stood above the world, looking even more resplendent than the starry heavens, even more glorious than the sun and moon. It made one's soul tremble. Greetings, immortal venerate. Seeing such a person, Bird Grandpa and Coin Elder could not help lowering their heads in respect. Bird Grandpa and Coin Elder were both powerful primes when they were alive. After they fell, their souls merged with the Void God Realm to guard the sealed ground. The two's primordial spirits were damaged, and their memories were incomplete. However, they still instinctively sensed powerful experts. I am the Supreme Elder. Liu turned around and nodded at the two. This sovereign needs to use the Void God Realm to nurture some people, so I made some adjustments. However, I did not greet you two, so please forgive me. We will follow Venerable Immortal's instructions. Venerable Immortal, you've already finished, so we can't interfere even if we want to. Bird Grandpa and Coin Elder were speechless, but they could only listen to Liu's instructions. There was nothing they could do. Fellow Taoists, there's no need to be like this. Liu sighed inwardly, shaking his head with a smile. The two of you were once existences like I. Although you have fallen into trouble now, there will be a day when you return to glory. Bird Grandpa was an immortal king-level old dragon, known as second under heaven. The bird on his shoulder was a phoenix. Coin Elder was an ecliptic gold Taoist, also an immortal king. During the dark chaos of the immortal ancient era, the immortal kings suffered a calamity. The two souls were shattered, and only a bit of their soul merged with the void god realm, surviving until now. However, the memories of the two souls were already incomplete. Fellow Taoist, an existence like venerable immortal? The two wretched old things blinked, as if they had an idea. Haha, so it's venerable Tao friend. Bird Grandpa stood up, imitating Liu, standing with his hands behind his back, as if he was pointing at the world. Venerable Tao friend, seeing that we are old acquaintances, those true spirit treasure techniques, primitive treasure bones, and other things you could just casually give me some. I'm so poor now. That's right. We are old friends. Help this brother out. Coin Elder's wrinkled old face revealed a flattering smile. What the hell? Liu held his forehead, feeling speechless. F***CK. You two old things, where is your dignity as immortal kings? Is it all fed to the dogs? All right, these two things haven't recovered their memories, so they're not immortal kings. You want a treasure technique? Isn't there a true phoenix treasure technique in the sealed land? Liu smiled at the two of them. Let's go, bring me there. After I take the true phoenix treasure technique, I will also leave a copy for you. The two old things' faces fell, and they cursed inwardly. Words like stingy and stingy appeared who knew how many times. Chapter 589. I have good intentions too. Liu glanced at the two old fellows and shook his head. The two of you have been corroded by the darkness for a long time. If you don't get rid of this calamity, you will all turn into demons. Fellow Taoist Grand Supreme, the sealed land is no small matter. Although our memories are incomplete, our memories of the sealed land are deeply imprinted in our minds. The sealed land cannot be touched carelessly, or it will be a disaster. Bird Grandpa became serious for once. Indeed, Coin Elder continued, since fellow Taoist Grand Supreme says that we are old acquaintances, you naturally know the seriousness of the sealed land. This place cannot be touched. You have the responsibility of guarding the seal, so it's natural for you to be cautious. Liu smiled and nodded. I came to quell the darkness, so I naturally won't do anything that will harm the world. This is just to get rid of the darkness. At this point, Liu stopped and glanced at the two old fellows. He smiled and said, if I really want to do something bad, you won't be able to stop me with your current strength. Now that I'm discussing with you, it's enough to show my sincerity. All right. The two old fellows were too shrewd. They naturally knew that Liu would not open the seal and release those ancient existences that had been corroded by the darkness and turned into demons. Wasn't the reason why he was doing this just to extort them? Since they could not extort them, the two old fellows had no other choice. Fellow Taoist Grand Supreme, please follow me. The two old geezers performed a series of hand seals. The chaotic void trembled slightly, and a huge passageway appeared. They stepped into the passage and ascended into the sky. A huge, ancient bluestone path appeared in the void, breaking through the clouds and going straight into the depths of the void. Liu and the two old fellows walked on the ancient path, passing through the boundless chaos, and walked to the end of the ancient path. It was a huge ancient palace. The ancient palace was pitch black and gave off an incomparably deep darkness. It was eerie and terrifying, causing one's hair to stand on end. This is the place where the seal is located. The two old fellows stood on the platform in front of the ancient palace and sighed deeply. We have guarded this place for countless years, but every time we see this darkness, our hearts still palpitate. What is this place? He was very doubtful. Sky Sovereign, you're here? At this time, a green light burst out from the chaos. A towering willow tree broke through the void and appeared in the sealed area. With a flash of green light, a peerless woman appeared in front of Liu. "You, have we met?" When the two old fellows saw Willow Deity appear, they were a little confused. Their memories are incomplete. They can't remember what happened back then. "We've also suffered greatly," Bird Lord and Coin Elder sighed in unison. "If Heavenly Venerable has a way to solve this once and for all, it would naturally be for the best. These are all immortal kings who have fallen into darkness. To think that peerless powerhouses have fallen to such a state. It's really a pity." Liu shook his head and waved his hand. An invisible wave swept across and collected all the sealed stone statues into the resource vault. Over there are the immortal king's subordinate generals. Looking forward, in the depths of the vast hall, there were many strange altars. On each altar, there was a huge jar carved with runes. Dozens of altars and dozens of jars. Those jars were also emitting black fog, emitting demonic power. These generals have also fallen into darkness and are unable to turn back. We can only let them rest in peace. With another casual wave of his hand, all the jars were collected by Liu. These people were all heroes in the past. Unfortunately, they fell into darkness and were consigned to eternal damnation. Willow Deity sighed and shook her head. It's also a good thing that Heavenly Venerable can let them rest in peace. If we can't stop the dark calamity, the entire world will be destroyed and everything will be extinct. For this, everyone must work hard. Liu raised his eyes and looked at the palace. There were two pieces of brilliant precious bones floating in the air. Runes flowed on the precious bones. Countless phoenix phantoms spread their wings and soared in the light. A noble and sacred aura flowed endlessly in the runes. True phoenix precious technique, one of the 10 ancient vicious, the innate ability of the phoenix. With a grab, the two pieces of precious bones fell into Liu's hand. With a sweep of his soul, the true phoenix precious technique was engraved in his heart. "Do you want this?" Liu smiled and handed over the two pieces of precious bones. Chapter 590. True Phoenix Treasure Technique, the strongest treasure technique of the archaic Vicious 10. In addition to various incomparably tyrannical killing techniques, there was also a peerless divine ability called Nirvana Rebirth. Phoenix Nirvana, resurrection from the dead. Moreover, it could also reshape the foundation of the Great Tao. It was a peerless divine ability treasure technique in this world. Sky's Sovereign is so generous, it would be impolite for me to refuse. Bird Grandpa reached out with a smile to grab the phoenix treasure bone in Liu's hand. "Bastard, you actually want to snatch my treasure technique? Our many years of friendship have all been fed to dogs?" Coin Elder was unable to restrain his anger. He rushed forward to snatch the two treasure bones. "Get lost. At this time, who still wants to talk about friendship with you? How much is friendship worth per caddy?" The two old fellows shouted strangely as they wrestled. This scene made Willow Deity and Liu shake their heads. These two fellows were actually immortal kings? They were simply ashamed to be associated with them. The Nirvana technique is also somewhat useful to me. I will also use it as a reference. Willow Deity was currently in the Nirvana Rebirth stage, so he was also a little interested in this true Phoenix treasure technique. "It is a little useful to you." Liu reached out and handed the two treasure bones to Willow Deity. However, the Phoenix Nirvana technique is a fire technique after all. You can use it as a reference. The Heavenly Wood technique's path of life and death is more suitable for you. "We can make fire. I want to see if I can find a new path." Willow Deity smiled as he received the two Phoenix treasure bones. With a touch of his divine soul, he engraved the true Phoenix treasure technique in his heart. Although Willow Deity's current strength was not as good as before, the essence of the immortal king realm was still there. He naturally understood the true Phoenix treasure technique very quickly. The innate divine ability of the Phoenix clan is indeed extraordinary. Willow Deity smiled and returned the treasured bones to Liu. He turned his head to look at the two old fellows who were still wrestling and shook his head. Sky Sovereign has removed the hidden darkness of the Void God realm. These two fellows should be more normal in the future. Ignore them. Liu waved his hand with a smile and sent out 2 balls of light, passing the true Phoenix treasure technique to the 2 old fellows. The matter is over. I will take my leave. With a wave of his hand, Liu left the sealed area and returned to the Supreme Hall under the wasteland. Sky Sovereign, leave the precious bone behind. Lord Bird thumped his chest and stomped his feet. You scoundrel, if you didn't fight with this old man, the precious bone would have already been in your hands. 1 for each of us isn't that great. There's nothing left now. Coin Elder was furious and roared at Bird Grandpa. You're blaming me? Weren't you the one who started it? With a furious roar, the 2 old fellows started fighting again. You guys have fun. Willow Deity rubbed her forehead and shook her head speechlessly. With a wave of her hand, she turned around and left the sealed area. We've really struck it rich this time. Returning to the underground, Liu smiled when he saw the stone statues and jars collected from the resource warehouse. The 8 stone statues represent the 8 immortal kings. Every immortal king had 10 subordinates. 80 jars means 80 true immortals. Although these immortal kings and true immortals had already been corroded by the darkness and had fallen into the demonic path, they were still alive. However, the essence of the power was still there. There are humans, celestials, and other true spirit divine beasts. With these gains, I's pockets will be much thicker. Although there were still dozens of great emperors, 3 mortal immortals, and countless emperor weapons and immortal artifacts in the resource warehouse. However, these things were not suitable to be taken out now. After all, those were all things of the future. Once they were taken out, it was hard to say what the consequences would be. Even if he used the ginseng fruit on Willow Deity, he would only extract the ginseng fruit's life force and not reveal the ginseng fruit to this world. These immortal kings and immortal generals still need to be cleaned up. These immortal kings and immortal generals who have been eroded by darkness. If the power of darkness was not removed, there was no way to take them out. Otherwise, they would be an incomparably huge source of pollution, emitting dark aura that would demonize countless living beings. Let's take a look at the information in their memories first. Liu smiled and nodded. System, scan the soul memories of all the immortal kings and immortal generals and enter them into the resource warehouse. Even though these people were all existences of the immortal ancient era, their soul memories were still very valuable to Liu. My original goal in coming to the chaotic ancient era was to analyze the laws of heaven and earth and raise my cultivation. These immortal kings and immortal generals were all extraordinary figures. In a sense, these people's cultivation comprehensions were also the embodiment of the laws of heaven and earth. Through these things, Liu could further understand the laws of heaven and earth. The cultivation methods of the immortal ancient era were not much different from the current era. The path was still a combination of body refinement and spirit refinement. The cultivation methods of that era were called heavenly arts. Liu discovered various heavenly arts from the soul memories of these immortal kings and immortal generals. The path they took was similar to the true primordial record, using basic runes to construct a complete great Tao. The runes of the true primordial record are indeed the foundation of the great Tao. Through these heavenly arts, Liu's understanding of the true primordial record deepened. Runes are like words. Heavenly arts are like essays. Different words form different chapters. These are the so-called heavenly arts. Liu knocked on the table in front of him, a smile on his face. That's why I'm going to do an experiment. Raising his eyes to look in the direction of Stone Village, Liu's face was full of smiles. Since this is Stone Village, also called Stone Clan, and even established a Stone Country, how can you not have a Stone Clan's inherited heavenly art? With a wave of his hand, the Strength of Earth treasure technique runes from Basha appeared in front of Liu. Strength of Earth absorbs Earth-type energy of heaven and earth to refine one's body, giving one incomparably powerful strength. It can also control earth-type energy of heaven and earth. However, this is still not enough. Liu discovered the heavenly boulder art from the memories of a stone clan immortal king. Then, he found the Qilin treasured art and the earth dragon treasured art from the Supreme Hall. Combining these techniques and treasured arts, Liu continued to deduce. Runes flowed and intertwined, forming an enormous earth-yellow halo of runes. Still not enough. Liu recalled that there were some earth-type basic runes in the true primordial record, as well as the pangolin and earth-drilling mouse treasured beast runes in the Supreme Hall. These can all be used as a reference. His hands continued to move, adding, modifying, deleting, and merging runes. The halo of runes continued to evolve, finally forming a three-dimensional mountain-shaped rune. It looks pretty good. The mountain-shaped rune was full of charm, as if a majestic divine mountain towered in front of him, majestic and vast. Let's have the system deduce first, and see if there are any problems. He stored the newly deduced technique in the system and activated the illusory realm. Using everyone in Stone Village as test subjects, he carefully deduced it. The final result was very satisfying. I didn't find any problems. Liu nodded in satisfaction. Looks like we can start clinical trials. Oh no, we can pass down the Great Tao True technique. This technique has the strength of Earth, the boulder body, and the Earth Escape technique. It can also control the strength of Earth. Since its runes are mountain-shaped, I'll name it Taiyu Heaven technique. With a grab, the mountain-shaped rune fell into Liu's hand. Pass it to Xiaohao's Supreme Hall, and let him pass it down to the people of Stone Village. Just as he passed the Taiyu Heaven technique over, Liu suddenly remembered that he had stored the True Dragon Treasure technique in Xiaohao's Supreme Hall Scripture Pavilion. It was just that Xiaohao hadn't activated the Scripture Pavilion yet, so he didn't learn the True Dragon Treasure technique. True Dragon Treasure technique, True Phoenix Treasure technique, and a grass symbol sword art. There are already 3 treasure techniques from the archaic Vicious 10. I'll store them all in the Scripture Pavilion. Once Xiaohao's cultivation increases and opens the Scripture Pavilion, he'll be able to learn them. Liu waved his hand and directly stored the True Phoenix Treasure technique and the grass symbol sword art in together. Brat, the conditions I gave you are already very heaven-defying. If you don't improve at all, it'll be too outrageous. Chapter 591. We're back. This time, we won a great victory. The Void God Realm is truly a great place. After slaughtering everyone in the Void God Realm and fiercely sweeping through the starting ground, no one dared to provoke them. Stone Village's army finally decided to return, because after a great battle, Stone Village's fierce men were a bit hungry. Ancestor has another technique to pass down. Just as he returned and closed the door to the Void God Realm, Xiaohao suddenly discovered that there was movement in the Supreme Palace in his mind. Looking up, a technique called Taiyu Heaven technique appeared next to the Supreme Palace's crystal tablet. The power of the earth, the body of a boulder, the earth escape technique, and the ability to control the earth. This technique is truly too strong. Since the ancestor wanted to pass down this technique to Stone Village's people, Xiaohao naturally didn't have any objections and immediately passed it down. Taiyu Heaven technique? Good, good, too good. Seeing the technique that Xiaohao passed down, Stone Village's people couldn't contain their joy. With this technique, the power of the earth gave them boundless strength, the body of a boulder made them unbreakable, and they also had the earth escape technique. Even if they couldn't win, they could still run. The ability to control the earth could also control the power of the earth. It was simply too suitable. Grand Empyrean truly put in a lot of effort. What happened in Stone Village naturally couldn't be hidden from Willow Deity. Seeing Xiaohao pass out the Taiyu Heaven technique, Willow Deity's face was full of admiration. Grand Empyrean painstakingly cultivated in order to deal with the chaos of the darkness. I also need to speed up. Okay, Willow Deity clearly misunderstood. This so-called Taiyu Heaven technique was just an experiment that Liu did to analyze the power of laws. In this period of time, Stone Village's techniques and treasure techniques could be said to have exploded like a geyser. Apart from the previous Green Pung treasure technique, Taotai treasure technique, and Basha treasure technique, the three guardian beasts also brought the sky-swallowing sparrow treasure technique, Cheonchi treasure technique, and Jiyin treasure technique. The archaic descendant level fire crow treasure technique, fire bull treasure technique, swan and eye treasure technique, and devil ape treasure technique were even more insignificant. Coupled with the mortal immortal martial way and the Taiwa heavenly art, even if the true primordial record and the heavenly art of the 6 paths of reincarnation weren't widely circulated, these techniques were enough to scare countless sacred grounds to death. Stone Village's development speed is still a bit slow. We must speed up the progress of Heavenly Emperor Huang's army plan. The people of Stone Village no longer lacked cultivation method inheritances. What they lacked was their own strength. I've just taken in so many immortal kings and immortal generals. It's a good time to use them. To the system, be it the power of darkness or the power of light, they were all energy. There was no possibility of being corroded by the darkness. Therefore, I decomposed an immortal general and converted it into pure heaven and earth essence chi before injecting it into the training field. Immortal generals were all at the true immortal level, and their strength was boundless. After pouring it into the martial arts practice field, the people of Stone Village could meditate and train their chi here. They could absorb the origin chi and quickly increase their cultivation. Following Li Yu's command, a vast and boundless power poured into Stone Village's practice field. Wang, multicolored light filled the sky, and immortal clouds lingered. The huge martial arts practice field was like a vast plaza. At this moment, the entire martial arts practice field was filled with extremely dense heaven and earth essence chi. Everyone in the martial arts practice field seemed to be immersed in a vast ocean of heaven and earth essence chi. This is wow. What abundant heaven and earth essence chi. Cultivating here, the speed of cultivation is countless times faster. When the heaven and earth essence chi poured in, the people of Stone Village were still in the martial arts practice field, comprehending the Taiyu heaven art that Xiao Hao had just passed down. The abundant heaven and earth essence chi made the people of Stone Village glow. Each of them was majestic and dazzling. This is the grace of the Grand Ancestor. Xiao Hao looked at the people of Stone Village and said with a serious face, "Everyone, the Grand Ancestor is so gracious. We must cultivate seriously to not disappoint the Grand Ancestor's expectations. The Grand Ancestor's grace is as heavy as a mountain." The old chief was deeply moved. He turned his head to look at the people and roared, "What are you all still standing there for? Why aren't you taking the time to cultivate?" With a command, everyone began to meditate and train their chi, breathing in heaven and earth essence chi. Bang, bang, bang. Rumbling sounds erupted from his body. Brilliant stars sparkled like a river of stars flowing around him. "I've opened my acupoints." Shirlinghu patted his chest and laughed loudly. "I'll let you beat me to it." Sir Shoshan stood tall. His whole body crackled, and the acupoints on his body were as dazzling as a river of stars. "Don't be noisy." The old chief glared, and his whole body also exploded with starlight. "Old man, you've opened your acupoints too?" Shirlinghu looked at the old chief with a face of surprise. "So, your previous injuries are all healed?" The old chief had once walked out of the desolate land and stepped into the cultivation world. However, he was heavily injured, and his cultivation was crippled by more than half. At this moment, the old chief's body was full of chi and blood. His injuries were all healed, and he had recovered his peak cultivation. Boom! A huge rumbling sound came, and everyone in the martial arts practice field was startled. "That's Xiao Hao breaking through?" Everyone looked in the direction of the sound. They saw Xiao Hao's body shining brilliantly, and the overflowing golden light was like a vast ocean. A huge force surged and accumulated in Xiao Hao's body. It was like a volcano that had been suppressed for a long time, and it could erupt at any time. Boom! Another deafening boom resounded. Everyone realized that the sound came from another direction. Little Stone, is he also about to break through? On the other side of the martial arts practice field, Little Stone's body was also covered in divine light. A huge force was gathering in his body, and he was about to soar into the sky. Good, good. These two little guys are about to break through to the grotto heaven realm. The old chief stroked his beard and smiled. Everyone, watch carefully. You're about to break through to the grotto heaven realm. Comprehend it well. It'll be good for you. Boom! A bloody aura rushed into the sky like a volcano erupting. Heaven and earth rumbled, and the void shook. The entire martial arts practice field trembled with this loud sound. Xiao Hao's body was shining brilliantly, and a brilliant hole appeared above his head. The hole shone with endless brilliance, and a majestic force surged, as if it was connected to a mysterious world. Ha! Good, good. Now that the grotto heaven has opened, you've officially stepped into the grotto heaven realm. Seeing the mysterious hole above Xiao Hao's head, the old chief laughed heartily. Boom! Another huge rumbling sound came, and a mighty blood aura soared into the sky. A mysterious hole with a vast aura also appeared above Little Stone's head. Little Stone also broke through to the grotto heaven realm at almost the same time. Not bad, not bad. They're only 5 years old, and they've already broken through to the grotto heaven realm. These two little guys have a limitless future. It's not over yet. The old chief was praising when he suddenly realized that Xiao Hao and Little Stone hadn't finished opening their grotto heavens. Boom, 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 boom. 4 consecutive explosions erupted from Xiao Hao's body. 4 more brilliant holes appeared on his chest, back, and left and right ribs. 5 grotto heavens. He just broke through and opened 5 grotto heavens. This is too terrifying. The old chief was dumbfounded. When ordinary people broke through to the grotto heaven realm, they couldn't even open a grotto heaven in one go. They needed a long time to fully open a grotto heaven. Now, Xiao Hao had opened 5 grotto heavens right after breaking through. How heaven-defying was this? Chapter 592. Boom, 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 boom. On the other side of the training field, there was also a vast radiance that illuminated the world. 4 explosions also erupted from Little Stone's body. Little Stone, he also opened 5 grotto heavens. The old tribe leader was both surprised and delighted. His entire body was dazed. If not for the fact that his cultivation had just broken through, it was hard to say if he would have a stroke from excitement. 5 grotto heavens was already the late stage of the grotto heaven realm. For ordinary cultivators, the limit of grotto heavens was 5 or 6 at most. 7 grotto heavens was peerless talent, 8 grotto heavens was a legend, and 9 grotto heavens was a myth. 10 grotto heavens, was there such a thing? Xiao Hao and Little Stone had just broken through and opened 5 grotto heavens in a row. This was already the limit of ordinary cultivators. If this spread, well, no one would believe it. In the future, these two little guys can open even more grotto heavens? 7, 8, or 9? The old tribe leader's entire body was trembling. No matter how high the old tribe leader's expectations of the two were, he had never thought of 10 grotto heavens. After all, there was no such thing as 10 grotto heavens. 9 was an extreme number. 10 grotto heavens was perfection, surpassing the limit of the grotto heaven realm. 5 grotto heavens swallowed heaven, earth, yuan, qi. The enormous suction force was like 5 whirlpools that set off waves of surging waves in the training field. Xiao Hao and Little Stone broke through at the same time and swallowed heaven, earth, yuan, qi at the same time. The heaven, earth, yuan, qi that filled the training field actually produced a tsunami-like roar. As expected of a young master of the Supreme Hall, his talent is indeed peerless. The sky-devouring sparrow and Qiongqi were also cultivating in the training field. The 2 guardian beasts praised Xiao Hao and Little Stone in their hearts when they saw the commotion caused by their breakthroughs. Even pure-blooded, true spirit cubs didn't cause such a commotion when they broke through to the grotto heaven realm. At most, they could open 2 or 3 grotto heavens at once. This was already considered a genius. Now these 2 young masters had broken through to the grotto heaven realm and opened 5 grotto heavens in a row. This was simply unimaginable. Squeak! The golden-haired little monkey didn't feel anything. It chased the 3 little green rocks around a training field. Then, it was sent flying with a flap of its wings. These 2 little fellows are indeed extraordinary. Willow Deity's figure appeared at the entrance of the martial arts practice field. Seeing the extremely dense heaven-earth yuan qi in the martial arts practice field, the corners of Willow Deity's mouth twitched. Grand Empyrean, isn't the price you're paying too great? Are you really placing all your hopes on little Shirtu? From Willow Deity's point of view, Grand Empyrean was exhausting his foundation and using a great divine ability to gather the power of a true immortal in the martial arts field to help Little Stone and the others grow. Even for an immortal king, if he wanted to gather the power of a true immortal in a place like the lower realm, unless he destroyed the 8 realms and absorbed all the chi of heaven and earth, he could only use his own power. Now that there were no changes in the 8 regions, it could only mean that the Grand Empyrean had expended his own energy to create Little Rock and the others. It was no wonder that Willow Deity would think this way. Those immortal kings and immortal generals who had fallen into the darkness had their powers corroded by the darkness. They could only be destroyed. There was no way to use them. However, to the system, dark energy was also a type of energy and was no different from any other energy. This period of time is when the various factions are very peaceful. It's the best time for Xiaohao to farm. Let's use these few years to increase their strength as quickly as possible. After Xiaohao advanced to the Grotto Heaven realm, Liu activated a functional building of the Supreme Hall for him. Dao Enlightenment Hall? Enlighten and increase comprehension ability? The appearance of this new building was a pleasant surprise for Xiaohao. From the current situation of Stone Village, they had sufficient cultivation techniques and treasured skills. In addition to the extremely dense chi of heaven and earth in the martial arts field, they could also go to the Void God realm to gain battle experience. They had sufficient cultivation resources. However, Stone Village had risen too quickly. Even with these conditions, they still had a rough grasp of various powerful cultivation techniques and treasured skills. They didn't have a deep understanding of them. Now that the Dao Enlightenment Hall had appeared, it was simply a timely help. It was perfect for Stone Village's current situation. Grandpa Clan Leader, I want to build another house. Xiaohao greeted the old clan leader. Then, he found an empty house beside the martial arts field and built the Dao Enlightenment Hall. The Dao Enlightenment Hall looked like an ordinary ancient hall. Inside, there were several hundred small meditation rooms. Meditating in the meditation rooms, one could comprehend cultivation techniques and enter a state of calmness. Its effects were extraordinary. The Dao Enlightenment Hall is indeed extraordinary. Even my wooden brain has been enlightened. Shi Linghu was the first user of the Dao Enlightenment Hall. After meditating in the Dao Enlightenment Hall for half a day, Shi Linghu laughed loudly and walked out of the Dao Enlightenment Hall. All of his cultivation techniques and treasured skills had made great progress. In the following time, Stone Village's people comprehended cultivation techniques in the Dao Enlightenment Hall, cultivated energy in the martial arts field, and fought in the Void God realm. As the days passed, Stone Village's strength continued to grow. Everyone's cultivation also continued to increase. Unknowingly, 3 years had already passed. Honglong. In the martial arts field, monstrous chi and blood surged. A huge explosion shook the heavens and earth. 9 heavenly passages. On this day, Xiaohao and Little Stone both opened their 9 heavenly passages. 9 heavenly passages were opened. Their radiance was boundless and resplendent. The 2 8-year-old kids were majestic like gods descending to the mortal world. The legend of the 9 heavenly passages has finally been realized today. The old chief laughed loudly. After 3 years, Stone Village's strength had changed completely. Everyone had reached the heavenly passage realm. With the support of the Tao Enlightenment Hall, everyone had mastered the Azure Pung treasured art, Tao Tai treasured art, Basha treasured art, Sky Swallowing Sparrow treasured art, Cheong Chi treasured art, and Jian treasured art. The worldly immortal martial arts had also opened all of their meridians. The Taiwa heavenly art had also reached minor success. More importantly, the Azure Pung family's strength had also made great progress. After 3 years in the martial arts field, the Azure Pung had reached the venerable realm. The 3 young Azure Pungs had also grown to 5 zhang in length. Their feathers were as green as jade. 4 Azure Pangs, Sky Swallowing Sparrow, and Cheong Chi. Even if the golden-haired monkey was ignored, Stone Village's strength was not any weaker than a sacred ground. As for Xiao Hao and Little Stone, they were even more incredible. He had opened 9 grotto heavens and cultivated 6 true spirit treasured arts. He also had the human immortal martial arts, the Taiwa heavenly art, the 6 paths of reincarnation heavenly art, and the true primordial record. Ancestor, want me to go to heaven, mending pavilion. On this day, Xiao Hao suddenly saw a new message appear on the Supreme Palace's crystal tablet. This message was actually asking Xiao Hao and Little Stone to go to Heaven Mending Pavilion. Heaven Mending Pavilion's holy courtyard? Xiao Hao saw the message on the crystal tablet. It was actually asking him to go to Heaven Mending Pavilion's holy courtyard. What's so special about that place? Why does Ancestor want me to go to the holy courtyard? Xiao Hao, I want to go to Heaven Mending Pavilion. At this time, Little Stone rushed into the tool refining pavilion and shouted at Xiao Hao. Heaven Mending Pavilion's inheritance is far inferior to ours. What are you going to do there? Little Stone's words made Xiao Hao stunned. Although Heaven Mending Pavilion was a sacred ground, it was far inferior to Stone Village in terms of inheritance methods. Little Stone had no need to go there. I heard news from the Void God realm. The man with dual pupils wants to go. So it's like this. Hearing this reason, Xiao Hao knew that Little Stone's trip was unavoidable. Then let's go. From this day onward, Tai Hao and Xiao Hao officially stepped into a great era of turbulence. Chapter 593. Heaven Mending Pavilion was nearly 1,000,000 miles away from Stone Village. With such a long distance and passing through countless mountains, there were bound to be all kinds of fierce beasts and archaic descendants. However, with Xiao Hao and Little Stone's current strength, these were not difficult at all. Single-horned silver scale horse, perfect to use as a mount. Little Stone jumped out from behind a cliff. Seeing the herd of single-horned silver scale horses in the valley ahead, he immediately cheered. The little golden monkey on his shoulder threw at Xiao Hao. Little Stone jumped up like a pung spreading its wings, whistling through the air. This was one of the uses of the Azure Sky Pang's precious technique. Other than the endless wind blades used to attack, the Imperial Wind technique was also the Azure Sky Pang's innate ability. The pung could fly with the wind and soar up 90,000 miles. The Azure Sky Pang's Imperial Wind technique was also an extremely powerful movement technique. Playing around again, Xiao Hao smiled and shook his head. He caught the golden monkey that Little Stone threw at him and threw it next to Cheong Chi. Squeak, squeak. The little monkey pointed at Little Stone's figure and squeaked. It seemed to be complaining to Xiao Hao about Little Stone's abuse. Cheong Chi, who had turned into a little lion, swept its tail and made the little monkey somersault. The little monkey was so angry that it grimaced again. With Cheong Chi here, why would I need a mount? Moreover, even if I used the Azure Sky Pang's Imperial Wind technique, I wouldn't be slower than these silver scale horses. Xiao Hao's figure flashed, and he flew in the direction of Little Stone. Hiya! Little Stone sat on the back of a tall, silver scale horse. He reached out and grabbed the mane of the silver scale horse. He rode the silver scale horse and galloped, scaring the surrounding silver scale horses into fleeing in all directions. Xiao Hao, we have already traveled 700,000 or 800,000 miles, right? Heaven Mending Pavilion should not be far. Riding the silver scale horse, he stopped next to Xiao Hao. Little Stone pointed in the direction of Heaven Mending Pavilion and yelled in high spirits, "Heaven Mending Pavilion, I'm coming." The horse's hooves rumbled as it galloped forward like an arrow leaving a bow. "Bastard! My body is covered in dust." Xiaohao waved his hand, and a gust of wind swept the dust away. Xiaohao's feet touched the ground, and he rode the wind, his figure chased to catch up to Little Stone. The two of them sped along for 1,000 miles, leaving the vast mountain range. "Xiaohao, look over there." Little Shirtu jumped off the silver scale horse and pointed into the distance. What a big white jade dragon elephant! In front of him was a vast wilderness. A huge white jade dragon elephant was running with heavy steps. The huge elephant leg stomped on the ground, causing the earth to tremble. On the back of the white jade dragon elephant stood a magnificent carriage. It was decorated with jade and tassels, and it radiated with precious light. "Those are people from Little Western Paradise. Are they also going to Heaven Mending Pavilion?" Xiaohao looked at the enormous white jade dragon elephant, and his expression was somewhat surprised. The Little Western Paradise is also a great sect with a long history. They are also going to the Heaven Mending Pavilion? It seems like this Bution Pavilion is not that simple. Grand Supreme Ancestral Master's arrangement must have a deeper meaning. At this moment, seeing the people of the Little Western Paradise rushing towards Heaven Mending Pavilion, Xiaohao is even more certain of his guess. His mount is the one that's impressive. Little Shirtu looked at the silver scale horse beside him. Previously, he felt that it was incomparably handsome, but now, compared to the white jade dragon elephant, it was like a grain of sand compared to a pearl. "Forget it. I'll let you go back." Waving his hand, he let go of the silver scale horse. Little Shirtu turned his head and looked at the mountain behind him. "I also need to catch a strange beast. Otherwise, I will be defeated by them." "Stop messing around. Why are you fighting with them for such trivial things?" With Qiongqi, this kind of supreme realm, pure-blooded, true spirit, why would he need to catch a mount? Xiaohao naturally would not let Little Shirtu mess around. He reached out and pulled Little Shirtu away. Although they were walking, the two of them were moving with the wind, so their speed was very fast. As they moved forward, they met more and more people. Looking up, the entire wasteland was filled with people hurrying towards Heaven Mending Pavilion. Even though they didn't encounter any extraordinary mounts, Xiaohao and Little Shirtu were the only ones who traveled on foot like them. So eye-catching? It seems like they are too low-key. Xiaohao suddenly realized that the two of them, who were walking on foot, were even more unconventional. Chirp, chirp. A huge bird's cry came from behind them. On the horizon, multicolored light illuminated the heaven and earth. A huge multicolored peacock flew across the sky. Multicolored lights scattered along the way, creating a myriad of scenes. On the back of this multicolored peacock, there was also a big carriage. Inside the carriage sat a few figures with extraordinary auras. Roar! A bright golden light flashed. A 9-headed lion covered in golden light carried a gorgeous carriage on its back. It was walking in the sky like a small mountain. Rumble, rumble, it broke through the sky. Clang, clang. A gigantic fire phoenix was pulling a simple and unadorned fiery red chariot. The chariot left a trail of fire in its wake, illuminating the entire horizon in red. The three divine birds and sacred beasts all had extraordinary backgrounds. Although they were not pure-blooded, true spirits, their bloodlines were still very rich. They were even more powerful than ordinary archaic descendants. Your Fire Nation also has ideas about Heaven Mending Pavilion. In the chariot on the back of the golden 9-headed lion, a golden-robed young man stood up and looked at the blazing fire phoenix chariot. "I'm here to become a disciple of Heaven Mending Pavilion. I don't have any ideas." A pretty girl wearing a fire-red dress looked at the young man in the golden robe and frowned slightly. "Your Metal Nation actually has ideas about Heaven Mending Pavilion? You have bad intentions. Are all people of Fire Nation so hypocritical?" The multicolored peacock scattered multicolored light, facing the golden lion and the fiery phoenix carriage from afar. A young man in a green robe stood up from the carriage on the peacock's back and sneered. Our Greenwood nation came for the Holy Institute and that opportunity. Everyone knows about it. Why do you have to hide it? No one from Stone Nation came? Didn't they say that the man with dual pupils was coming? Why didn't he appear? The man with dual pupils is such a big name. I want to see it for myself. The young man in the golden robe arrogantly raised his head, as if he wanted to challenge the man with dual pupils. It's said that the man with dual pupils became a disciple of the demonic spirit lake. If he wants to come, he will come from the demonic spirit lake. He won't take this path. The young man in the green robe on the back of the multicolored peacock sneered. The man with dual pupils has already become a disciple of the demonic spirit lake, so he can't be considered a member of Stone Nation. Without the man with dual pupils, the rest of Stone Nation are just chickens and dogs. When a young man in the green robe said this, he immediately angered someone. Oof. Little Stone looked up at the multicolored peacock and snorted loudly. Little Stone was born in the royal family of Stone Nation. Even though he was estranged from the martial imperial household, he would not allow anyone to humiliate Stone Nation. You have a problem? The young man on the multicolored peacock heard Little Stone's snort and immediately frowned. He coldly glanced at Little Stone. Mere mountain barbarians, how dare you be so rude? As a prince of Greenwood Nation, the young man in the green robe had already developed an arrogant personality. Facing two mountain barbarians who did not even have mounts, the young man in the green robe felt that Little Stone's snort was a great insult. Peacock, swallow them for me. The young man in the green robe's face was ferocious. He directly attacked with his mouth. Chirp, chirp. The multicolored peacock let out an excited chirp. Multicolored light burst out from its body. Monstrous ferocity shook the heavens and the earth. Those two young men are finished. Such a commotion alarmed everyone nearby. Seeing the multicolored peacock attack two 8-year-old children, everyone shook their heads and sighed. Although this multicolored peacock was not a pure-blooded one, its bloodline was very pure. Its strength was unparalleled. It was a top beast king. Even ordinary human nobles would have a hard time winning against it, let alone these two children. Speaking of which, why was yesterday's chapter comments so quiet? If it wasn't for the fact that someone subscribed, I would have thought that I was spamming a single player. Chapter 594. Rumble. The enormous 5-colored peacock was like a 5-colored cloud that blotted out the sky. The bird opened its beak and swallowed Xiao Hao and Little Shirtu in one gulp. I can't keep a low profile. Otherwise, any random cat or dog will dare to provoke me. Xiao Hao sighed and waved at Xiongqi. I'll leave it to you. Yes. Xiongqi, who looked like a lion, nodded and roared at the sky. Roar. The wind and clouds surged and the mountains echoed. Xiongqi, who had the head of a tiger and the body of an ox, with 2 horns on its forehead and 2 wings on its back, revealed its true appearance that shocked the world. A huge mouth with dense fangs bit down on the 5-colored peacock. Crack! Blood splattered and feathers flew. The 5-colored peacock of the Beast King realm didn't even have time to scream before half of it was bitten off by Xiongqi. Seeing the scene, countless people gasped and trembled in shock. They were tongue-tied and couldn't say anything for a long time. Boom! Half of the peacock's body fell to the ground, creating a huge crater in the wilderness. The young prince of the Greenwood Kingdom let out a horrified scream that echoed throughout the wilderness. Xiongqi, pure-blooded, true spirit. The Emperor Realm. Countless people cried out in shock. In the wilderness, people from all over the wilderness looked at the 2 8-year-old children as if they had seen ghosts. The so-called Emperor Realm was the Venerable Realm, because in the human race, a venerable was the emperor of an ancient country. Some people called the Venerable Realm the Emperor Realm. Whoa! The golden 9-headed lion lowered its head and whimpered as if it was begging for mercy. It retreated far away. The fire phoenix also retreated far away. Under Xiongqi's overwhelming power, it didn't even dare to raise its head. The white jade dragon elephant in the distance was even worse. Its knees went weak, and it lay on the ground, trembling all over. At the same time, the other low-level mounts were completely paralyzed with fear. One by one, they fell to the ground and whimpered. You cub, you're actually so powerful? Little Shidu's face lit up with excitement when he saw that Xiongqi had bitten the five-colored peacock into two halves. My goodness, it's so impressive. Xiaohao, can this guy be used as a mount? It's my honor to be your mount. Xiongqi landed and crouched in front of little Shitu and Xiaohao. All right, since you've already been in the limelight, there's no need to hide anymore. Xiaohao nodded and climbed onto Xiongqi's back with little Shitu. They stood up on Xiongqi's broad back. It's actually a mount? Are you kidding me? An emperor rank, pure-blooded true spirit was only a mount? This is an existence equivalent to the human emperor of an ancient country. Where did these two people come from? From Xiongqi crouching down, to the two children climbing onto Xiongqi's back, to Xiongqi rising into the air and flying across the sky. This scene caused the countless people who saw this scene to turn pale with fright. As for the pitiful prince of the Cyanwood kingdom, he had already fainted from fright. How terrifying was the origin of an emperor-rank, pure-blooded, true spirit as a mount? What kind of frightening identity was this? A mere human emperor's son was nothing. Even Xiongqi, who was equivalent to the human emperor, was only a mount. I recognize them. They're Taihao and Xiaohao. Taihao, Xiaohao. Hearing these two thunderous names, everyone suddenly understood. So it's the two brothers. That's not strange. Thinking of the grand occasion when the two brothers broke the records of the man with double pupils and the invincible and ferocious army at the Void God Realm's starting ground, everyone sighed inwardly. They're indeed ferocious. Not to mention that each of them had a divine weapon. Even the emperor-ranked Xiongqi was only a mount. Their origin was simply unimaginable. Did you notice that the golden-haired monkey on Taihao's shoulder seems to be a Zhuyin? All right, this news was no longer shocking. Even Xiongqi could be used as a mount. Was it strange to have a Zhuyin as a pet? Since Taihao and Xiaohao came, they probably didn't care about the so-called opportunity of Heaven Mending Pavilion. The only reason for them to come is the Sacred Institute. I heard that the man with double pupils also plans to enter the Sacred Institute. There will be a good show to watch. Once these two brothers came into being, they broke the record of the man with double pupils and trampled him under their feet. This time, when their real bodies meet, there will definitely be sparks. After Xiongqi went far away and the aura that shook the heaven and earth dissipated, everyone rode on their mounts that still had weak legs and continued on their way. 10,000 li away, Heaven-Mending Pavilion's encampment. This was a pure land in the depths of the wasteland. Ancient trees towered into the sky, and spirit mountains were beautiful. Clouds rose from the peaks of the mountains, and waterfalls flowed freely. In front of Heaven Mending Pavilion's enormous mountain gate, there was a vast and boundless field. Many people gathered around. These people came from all over the wasteland and came to Heaven Mending Pavilion to become a disciple. Heaven Mending Pavilion was a famous holy land in the wasteland region. The Heaven Mending technique was world famous. When Heaven Mending Pavilion was about to open its mountain gate and recruit talents, there were naturally countless people who wanted to enter Heaven Mending Pavilion. Long. Suddenly, a huge tremor came from the horizon. Looking from afar, one could only see a huge figure flying over from the horizon. Woo-woo, Gigi. When that enormous figure appeared on the horizon, the people waiting in front of Heaven Mending Pavilion were shocked to find that their mounts, pets, and spirit beasts were all crying out in pain. They were all lying on the ground, shivering. What's going on? Everyone was very confused. However, in the blink of an eye, they were only left with shock and no longer had any doubts. A huge, vicious beast flew through the sky, and its boundless aura shook the heaven and earth. Its incomparably tyrannical power caused people to feel fear from their souls. That is Xiongqi. An emperor-level vicious beast, Cheong-Chi. What is it doing? Which holy land is this? Does it want to start a war with Heaven Mending Pavilion? The honorable realm was already a peak existence in the wasteland region. For such an existence to appear in Heaven Mending Pavilion, something big must have happened. Everyone dodged one after another and opened up a path. Sir Cheong-Chi, why have you come to my Heaven Mending Pavilion? Within Heaven Mending Pavilion, figures with vast auras rushed into the horizon and welcomed Cheong-Chi's arrival. Heaven Mending Pavilion's pavilion master and several elders have all moved out. It seems like something big is going to happen. Rumor has it that Heaven Mending Pavilion's pavilion master has been in seclusion for a long time. His strength is unfathomable. I wonder if he has reached the honorable realm. If not, Heaven Mending Pavilion will be in big trouble. Seeing that the two sides were about to clash, the spectators outside of Heaven Mending Pavilion were nervous and expectant. If they really fought, this kind of great battle would be rare to see. However, there was a risk in watching. The aftermath of the battle would cause huge damage. Who is it that wants to fight with Heaven Mending Pavilion? Look, there are people on Cheong-Chi's back. At this time, everyone was shocked to find that on the back of this honorable realm Cheong-Chi, there were two children around 8 years old. What kind of joke was this? A honorable realm vicious beast, Cheong-Chi, was actually just a mount? Wasn't this too terrifying? Seeing this scene, everyone's bodies stiffened as if they were petrified. Chapter 595. At this time, the leaders of Heaven Mending Pavilion also discovered that the master was someone else. A Cheong-Chi of the Venerable Realm was only a mount? Then what are we? Looking at the two 8-year-old children, looking at their tender faces and innocent smiles, everyone from Heaven Mending Pavilion felt a huge wave in their hearts. What kind of background did these two little fellows have? What did they want to do by coming to Heaven Mending Pavilion? Two young masters, for what purpose have you come to my humble sect? Heaven Mending Pavilion master braced himself and greeted the two little fellows as he asked. Although Heaven Mending Pavilion had a guardian spirit that surpassed the venerable realm, the guardian spirit was already too old and did not have much vitality left. It was not clear whether it could still fight against Cheong-Chi. This one is Xiao Hao. This one is Tai Hao. The two little fellows returned the greeting in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing as they reported their background. It's Xiao Hao and Tai Hao. Everyone in Heaven Mending Pavilion trembled. Regarding the background of these two little fellows, they were both shocked and felt that it was natural. To be able to have a venerable realm Cheong-Chi as a mount at such a young age, perhaps only these two little fellows could do it. Tai Hao and Xiao Hao. It's actually them? No wonder. When the crowd below heard the two of them report their background, they immediately cried out in surprise. Tai Hao and Xiao Hao's names could be said to be illustrious in the Void God realm. Not to mention their exceptional talent in breaking records. That group of terrifying and savage family legions made countless people afraid and hate them. Stone Village's army swept through the Void God realm and defeated everyone in the starting ground. After 3 years, Stone Village's army was simply the overlord of the Blood Transformation Realm's starting ground. Stone Village's army had already appeared in the Heavenly Paradise. It could be predicted that the Heavenly Paradise would have another bloody storm. So it's Tai Hao and Xiao Hao. Everyone in Heaven Mending Pavilion greeted the two of them. I wonder what business do the two young masters have with us? With Tai Hao and Xiao Hao's wealth, they even used a venerable realm Cheong-Chi as a mount. They definitely did not care about Heaven Mending Pavilion's inheritance. Could it be that they were also thinking about the guardian spirit? The guardian spirit fell, and its divine power returned to the world. Did they also want to seize the opportunity to seize the good fortune? With their terrifying background, they shouldn't care about such a small thing, right? Other than that, there was only one other reason. The sacred institute of your esteemed sect is full of mysteries. We brothers want to enter the sacred institute to take a look. Seniors, please do us a favor." Xiao Hao smiled and saluted everyone from Heaven Mending Pavilion. As expected, hearing Xiao Hao's request, everyone from Heaven Mending Pavilion felt their hearts skip a beat. Their faces revealed a bit of embarrassment. "Two young masters, the Heaven Mending Pavilion's holy court is our humble sect's important inheritance ground. If the two young masters entered Heaven Mending Pavilion, this matter would naturally not be a problem. If Pavilion Master Bution helplessly shook his head. This kind of sacred place was related to the inheritance of the sect. If it was open to outsiders, then what face would Bution Pavilion have left? We don't covet your sect's legacy." Xiao Hao smiled as he looked at Bution Pavilion Master. "We only want to borrow the Sacred Institute's clear sky road to train ourselves. Of course, joining Bution Pavilion is also not a problem. Liu had already given instructions, so entering Heaven Mending Pavilion was naturally not a big deal. Ha ha! If the two of you can enter Heaven Mending Pavilion, then entering the Sacred Institute would naturally not be a problem. To have these two exceptional geniuses enter Heaven Mending Pavilion, as well as an incomparably terrifying family power, this was simply a great thing for Heaven Mending Pavilion. Their guardian spirit was about to fall. If Heaven Mending Pavilion did not have enough strength, then the destruction of their sect would be right in front of them. With Xiao Hao and Tai Hao entering the sect, the dark clouds that shrouded Heaven Mending Pavilion's people dispersed by half. Hong Long. At this time, a loud sound came from afar. A huge bird with jet-black feathers covered the sky with its wings. It was like a black cloud that broke through the sky. One could faintly see a few figures standing on the back of the bird. Black Eagle. This is the Mount of Stone Country's martial king. The man with dual pupils has appeared. Everyone recognized the origin of this bird, and they also saw the arrogant natural-born saint on its back. He really came. Little Shirtu glanced in the direction where the bird of prey came from. His expression was very complicated. Caw! With a huge eagle cry, the black eagle exploded with a monstrous aura. It was as if a monarch was descending from the heavens and earth, announcing its arrival. Then, too noisy, Little Stone furrowed his brows in displeasure. Oh, Cheongqi was very good at reading people's expressions. With an angry roar, an incomparably vast and peerless divine aura engulfed the heaven and earth like a raging tide. GG, the Black Eagle was an archaic descendant with an impure bloodline. It could not even compare to the Rainbow Peacock and the Fire Phoenix. So how could it withstand Cheongqi's aura? Being attacked by this monstrous aura, the Black Eagle was frightened to death. It screamed and fell from the sky. Damn it! On the back of the Black Eagle, an old man exploded with a golden light. He pulled a young man down from the Black Eagle's back and steadily landed on the ground. Although they did not suffer any injuries, they still lost a lot of face. Something like this actually happened? This time, the man with dual pupils' face will not look good. Cheongqi roared and directly scared the man with dual pupils' mount into falling from the sky. This display of power was really too fierce. Shameful thing, you actually dared to use a beast to hurt people. Cheongqi? The old man covered in golden light was about to explode when he suddenly saw the ferocious beast with a deep aura in the air. His face was full of shock, and he was dumbfounded. Cheongqi became a mount? A pure-blooded true spirit, and a supremacy pure-blooded true spirit at that, became a mount for two children? This old man was the demonic spirit Lake's golden spider supremacy. He was also a supremacy pure-blooded true spirit. At this moment, seeing a supremacy pure-blooded true spirit become a mount, the golden spider supremacy felt that it was very absurd. Among the 100 races of the vast wilderness, the human race was a weak race. At this moment, two human children were using a supremacy pure-blooded true spirit as a mount. Where did these two people come from? The old spider's eyes flickered. He could not figure out Xiao Hao and Tai Hao's background at all. Although he was angry, he did not dare to flare up, because even if he did, he would not be able to gain any advantage. If he beat up the young, and the old came and captured him to be a mount, the old spider shuddered and did not dare to make a sound. Pavilion Master, the matter has been settled. Let's go down. Xiao Hao did not have any reaction to Little Stone's display of strength. He also did not pay attention to the old spider and the man on the ground. Instead, he began to chat with the Bution Pavilion Master. The two young masters are very welcome to the sect. The two of you, please follow us to the pavilion to rest for a while. The Bution Pavilion Master called for a few elders to bring Xiao Hao and Tai Hao into the Bution Pavilion. Then, I want to greet the old spider. So it is the demonic spirit Lake's golden spider supremacy. Please forgive me for not coming out to greet you. Please forgive me. The Bution Pavilion Master laughed and chatted with the old spider. Pavilion Master, where did those two brats come from? Even if he did not flare up, the old spider was still brooding over the humiliation from before. That is young Master Tai Hao and young Master Xiao Hao. The Bution Pavilion Master chuckled. I believe the two of you are not unfamiliar with their names. It's them? The old spider frowned. His expression was somewhat ugly. Tai Hao and Xiao Hao? The man with double pupils tightly clenched his fists. His eyes emitted a frightening light. Chapter 596. Everyone, this is our sect's holy institute. Bution Pavilion Master led Xiao Hao and the others to the peak of a mountain. He pointed at the cloudy sky above the peak and said to everyone with a smile, Holy Institute is actually a small world. Looking up at the sky, Xiao Hao was slightly surprised. Bution Pavilion has a long history, and the Holy Institute is indeed extraordinary. It's just a legacy left behind by our predecessors. Bution Pavilion Master smiled modestly and then turned to look at Xiao Hao, Little Stone, and the man with double pupils. Since the three of you have already entered Bution Pavilion, the Holy Institute can naturally be open to you. However, to enter the Holy Institute, you need to go through the Clear Sky Road test. Whether you can successfully enter the Holy Institute will depend on yourselves. We are confident that we can pass. Little Stone said confidently. He turned to look at the man with double pupils and curled his lips provocatively. I just don't know if a so-called natural-born saint is worthy of his name. The man with double pupils, Sure E, was the cousin who stole Little Stone's supreme being bone. Seeing this person, Little Stone remembered the pain of having his bone dug out. His heart was filled with anger, and he could not help but mock the man with double pupils. Oof. The man with double pupils' eyes emitted a cold light. You are Tai Hao? You're so proud of breaking my record? The so-called reaching the peak in one leap was only a game I played back then. Don't take it too seriously. I didn't even mention breaking the record, yet you brought it up in such a hurry. Could it be that you have a guilty conscience? Little Shirtu curled his lips. To me, breaking your record isn't even worth mentioning. If you didn't mention it, I really wouldn't have remembered it. Is that so? Other than a strong physical body, you don't have anything else to show, right? Physical strength is not my strongest ability. The man with double pupils sneered. I have created many records. If you want to catch up to me, you're still far from it. While Little Stone and the man with double pupils were arguing, Xiao Hao did not pay attention and did not say anything. He only silently stood behind Little Stone. At the same time, Qiongqi, who had turned back into a little lion, stared at the venerable golden spider with a pair of green eyes. He did not hide his threatening intent. Why are you staring at me like that? Could it be that you're worried that this old man will interfere in a dispute between children? Who do you think this old man is? At the mention of his identity, the old spider's face was filled with resentment, and he couldn't continue. A pure-blooded, true spirit in the venerable realm was nothing more than a mount for the two little fellows. This was truly depressing to the point of vomiting blood. Calm down, both of you. Seeing the two arguing, the heaven-mending pavilion master hurriedly said, You are all heroes of the present age. Since you entered the sect together, you should be sincere and united. All right, even Pavilion Master Bution himself did not believe these words. These three people were all peerless geniuses. There was no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. It was impossible for such peerless geniuses to not clash with each other in the same generation. More importantly, even though the three of them had joined Butian Pavilion in name, in reality, Butian Pavilion Master did not have much control over them. Tai Hao and Xiao Hao's backgrounds were so frightening that they couldn't be controlled at all. The dual-pupiled person also had an extraordinary background. He was the descendant of Stone Country's martial imperial family, a direct descendant of the royal family. He was also the strongest contender for the throne of Stone Country. Moreover, he was a disciple of the pure-blooded, true spirit Holy Land, demonic spirit lake. With this kind of identity, Butian Pavilion Master could not control the dual-pupil person. Butian Pavilion still declined in the end. If not for the fact that their guardian spirit was about to fall and had a deity realm guardian spirit to protect them, why would Butian Pavilion have to compromise like this? Butian Pavilion Master secretly sighed. In name, he had accepted 3 peerless geniuses into the sect, but in reality, he was just compromising and forming a good relationship. He only hoped that when Butian Pavilion was in trouble, he would help Butian Pavilion in times of danger for the sake of the incense burning today. Everyone, I'm going to open the holy institution. Prepare yourselves. Butian Pavilion Master took out a simple and unadorned command tablet and activated it with his FALE. Runes flickered one after another, condensing into a portal made of runes in the void. How long? Space shook as the door slowly opened, revealing an ancient, mysterious, and unfathomable world. The Clear Sky Road has already opened. Whether or not you can enter the holy institution and obtain the inheritance of the heaven-mending technique will depend on yourselves. Butian Pavilion Master nodded at the 3. Go. I wish you all a smooth journey and climb to the top. Thank you, Pavilion Master. Xiao Hao and Little Stone bowed towards Butian Pavilion Master and stepped through the gate. The dual-pupiled person followed closely behind and also stepped through the gate to enter the holy institution. This is the holy institution. White clouds leisurely floated in front of them, and there was nothing under their feet. Although they felt as if they were stepping on solid ground, they could not see any path in front of them. There were only white clouds drifting about, and the heaven and earth were empty. What was even more shocking was that they could still see Butian Pavilion, and the people of Butian Pavilion could also see them. Little Stone even saw the little golden-furred monkey baring its teeth at him. Oomph. The Clear Sky Road is hidden in the void. This road tests one's eyesight. If one cannot see the path clearly, one step will cause one to fall into the void. The dual-pupiled person proudly raised his head, and the pupils in his eyes changed. Within his pupils, another pair of pupils appeared. My eyes are better, so I will go first. Looking at Little Stone and Xiao Hao provocatively, the dual-pupiled person stepped into the void and walked forward step by step. Aren't you just dual-pupiled people? So what? Since you want to lead the way, then I will not be polite. Little Stone sneered and was about to leave, but he was stopped by Xiao Hao. The Clear Sky Road is named after the clouds. Clouds have impermanence, and unpredictability. This road will always change, and every step will be different. If we follow his direction, we will definitely be at a disadvantage. Xiao Hao explained to Little Stone, Damn it, that guy is really treacherous. He is purposely luring us to follow him. Raising his eyes to look at the dual-pupiled person in front of him, Little Stone snorted, and a wave of anger appeared in his heart. Ha ha! Little Yi's talent is indeed outstanding. On top of Butian Pavilion's mountain peak, the old spider saw the dual-pupiled person step forward. He had already walked far away, but Xiao Hao and Tai Hao were still standing in place, unable to move. This made the old spider's face shine. It was as if all the anger he felt from before was being ruthlessly released here. Old spider, you are the most despicable. Do you need to be taught a lesson? Xiongqi angrily shouted. His dark green eyes emitted a monstrous aura. It was as if he was about to start a fight at any moment. You too. My Butian Pavilion cannot withstand your torment. The Clear Sky Road has just begun, and it is still too early to see the results. There is no need for you two to argue. Bustling Pavilion Master wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and quickly said, "If these two supreme experts fought here, it would cause the mountains to collapse and the earth to split. Even if Bustling Pavilion fully activated the mountain protecting formation, they would still suffer heavy losses. He could not let them fight. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will tear you apart." Xiongqi snorted and fiercely threatened the old spider, but he did not really act out. "Umph." The old spider's face turned purple. He gritted his teeth and held back his anger. On the clear sky road, Xiaohao and Taihao still did not move. We have been misled by him. After observing for a while, Xiaohao suddenly realized something. He turned his head and said to Little Stone, "What test of eyesight? Could it be that the inheritance of Bustling Pavilion can only be obtained by people with dual pupils? Taihao, I have found some clues. I want to try." The white clouds in front of his eyes were leisurely. It seemed like a gentle breeze, but it was full of difficulties. "My path is the path of a supreme being." Raising his hand and pointing forward, Xiaohao's entire body erupted with a mighty divine splendor. The brilliant splendor was divine and domineering. "The path of a supreme being is unrivaled. The heavens and earth cannot stop my footsteps. Time cannot erase my will. The path of the great Tao will be opened by me." With a loud shout, Xiaohao punched out with a tyrannical power. With a resolute and unwavering will, he smashed everything in front of him into pieces. "The great Tao is beneath my feet." Xiaohao smiled and took a step forward. "Wherever my feet were, the path would be there. If there was no path, then I will open one." Turning his head to look at Little Stone, Xiaohao asked with a smile, "Taihao, where is your path?" Chapter 597. Good, good, very good. In the heaven-mending pavilion, Xiongqi saw Xiaohao use his peerless divine might to dominate the world, to create a path on the blue cloud's road. He happily shouted, "Old spider, leaving early is not the same as leaving quickly. My family's young master's peerless appearance is not something your family's four-eyed can compare to." Xiongqi raised his head and ruthlessly taunted the old spider. "Dual pupils. For eyes." When the heaven-mending pavilion master heard this, the corner of his mouth twitched. Although the person with double pupils had 4 pupils, but wasn't it a bit too much to call him four-eyed? However, Xiaohao's boldness and his method of carving out a path for himself on the blue cloud's road also made the heaven-mending pavilion master extremely shocked. Ever since the sacred institution existed, every cultivator who entered the sacred institution comprehended the blue cloud's road and found their own path. No one had ever seen someone directly create a path. This kind of boldness was truly admirable. "Isn't there still one left over there?" The old spider pointed at Little Stone, who was still standing in place, and sneered, "Don't wait until he enters the sacred institution before he still hasn't taken a single step." Boom! Just as the old spider's voice fell, a loud noise was suddenly heard. Looking up, they saw Little Stone fiercely stomp on the ground. The boundless power shook the air, and a series of kacha sounds came from the blue cloud's road. He shattered the cornerstone of the blue cloud's road? Everyone was shocked to discover that Little Shirtu had crushed the cornerstone of the blue cloud's road that he was standing on. The cornerstone of the blue cloud's road was shattered. Little Stone flew up with the wind and floated in the air. Below him, on the shattered cornerstone of the blue cloud's road, countless runes lingered and condensed into a new cornerstone of the blue cloud's road. Then Little Stone fiercely stomped down again. With a loud noise, the newly condensed cornerstone of the blue cloud's road was shattered again. This cycle repeated once, twice, thrice. The cornerstone of the blue cloud's road was condensed again and again, and then shattered by Little Stone again and again. What is he doing? The heaven-mending pavilion master was dumbstruck. Ever since the sacred institution was created, he had never seen someone shatter the cornerstone of the blue cloud's road. Moreover, it was continuously being shattered. Old Spider sneered, his face full of ridicule and mockery. Since you can't find the path, you vent on the blue clouds road. This young lord of yours is still lacking some tempering. This temperament, TSK, TSK. Old Spider, do you want to die? Young Master's actions must have a deeper meaning. You don't know shit, so why are you shouting? Although Xiongqi also felt that Little Stone's actions were a bit strange, in front of outsiders, he could only protect Little Stone and not allow Old Spider to mock him. Profound meaning? I like to see what he's up to. The mocking expression on the Old Spider's face deepened. Don't tell me that he won't damage the array of the Sacred Academy by messing around like this. Even if your family is wealthy, you can't afford to compensate for the loss of Saint Court. Can you? This cough cough. Bution Pavilion Master's face turned ugly. Your Excellency, Xiongqi, if Tai Hao continues like this, he will indeed damage the runic magic array of the Sacred Institute. This is still a little inappropriate. Don't worry. Our family business is beyond your imagination. Not to mention a mere Sacred Academy. Even if the entire Bution Pavilion was destroyed by Young Master, we'll just rebuild it for you. Xiongqi waved his claws without a care. His words were extremely rich and made people speechless. You're ruthless. Old Spider's mouth twitched, and he didn't dare to reply. Even a sacred ground like Bution Pavilion could be compensated. Did he have to be so rich? So what if he was rich? No one doubted Xiongqi's words. Even a supreme being, pure-blooded true spirit, was a mount. How big would the family business of these two so-called young masters be? Rumble, rumble. Little Stone was still persistently smashing the foundation stone of the Blue Clouds Road. After smashing it hundreds and thousands of times, finally, a change occurred on the Blue Clouds Road. A golden rainbow emerged from the horizon, turning into a golden bridge that flickered with golden light, reaching all the way to the horizon. Ha ha! It really appeared. Seeing this golden rainbow, Little Stone laughed loudly. There's no path? You won't let me in? I'll beat you until you're obedient. Beat you until you lower your head and admit defeat. Beat you until you obediently let me in. Stepping onto the golden rainbow bridge, Little Stone held his head high and walked forward. This is also possible. Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded as if they were petrified. Beat the Sacred Institute until it admits defeat? Beat the Sacred Institute until it admits defeat? Bution Pavilion Master was in a daze. He felt like his faith was collapsing and his worldview was being destroyed. The Sacred Institute was the land of inheritance of Bution Pavilion. It was incomparably sacred. Unexpectedly, there was a time when it was beaten into submission. Ha ha! Young Master is indeed bold. Heroes bow their heads and rule the world. Nothing in this world can go against my will. This is the boldness that a young master should have. Xiongqi laughed loudly. One is if there's no path, then make one. The other is if I want a path, then you must give me a path. Who are these two guys? This is too savage. At this time, Bution Pavilion Master also understood why Little Stone could open a path. Because this was his Tao. Heroes bow their heads and rule the world. Nothing in this world can go against my will. This was also finding one's own path and following the rules of the Sacred Institute. As a result, it seemed like the Sacred Institute was beaten into submission. On the Blue Cloud Road, for pupils appeared in the eyes of the man with dual pupils. Two rays of light shot out from his eyes. Under the gaze of these divine eyes, the Blue Cloud Road that was hidden in the void and almost untraceable slowly revealed its traces in the eyes of the man with dual pupils. Is it hidden here? The man with dual pupils smiled as he walked. As if he was climbing a flight of stairs, he stepped onto another level. Under my dual pupils, everything is clear. No matter how it is hidden, it cannot hide from my eyes. In front of him, a simple and unadorned main hall was suspended in the depths of the white clouds. Between the curling celestial clouds, a corner of the mysterious main hall was faintly revealed. Even though it was only a corner that was revealed, it emitted endless brilliance as if it was an immortal palace. That is the Sacred Institute. Bution Pavilion's heaven-mending technique must be mine. It can only be mine. The man with dual pupils' arrogance reached the clouds. His charm was exceptional. He was completely confident in obtaining Bution Pavilion's inheritance. Xiao Hao, Tai Hao, you two barbarians. With your mere brute force, don't even think about stepping onto the blue cloud road. Only I, the man with dual pupils, with the peerless talent of a natural-born saint, am the supreme ruler of this world. I'm the leader of this era. The man with dual pupils arrogantly walked up the blue cloud road step by step. He walked step by step towards the palace in the depths of the white clouds. The further one walked on the blue cloud road, the more difficult it became. Even with the power of the man with dual pupils, he still needed to spend a lot of effort to find this path hidden in the void one by one. After going through countless hardships and putting in countless efforts, the man with dual pupils finally stepped onto the square in front of the Sacred Institute. Ha ha! I am the man with dual pupils laughed loudly and was about to make an announcement. However, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. The laughter suddenly stopped. The man with dual pupils shockingly discovered that he was actually the last one to arrive. On the steps in front of the Sacred Institute, two 8-year-old children stood leisurely with their arms crossed. They looked at him with smiles on their faces. You just arrived? We were already impatient from waiting. Little Shirtu smiled as he looked at the man with dual pupils. He seemed to be a little disappointed as he shook his head. It seems like you are still far from catching up to me. The man with dual pupils' body froze. He was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. This was what he had said to little Shirtu. However, right now, little Shirtu had completely returned it to him. Chapter 598. You want the heaven-mending technique. A bone book covered in mysterious symbols appeared in Little Stone's hand. He held it in his hand and waved it in front of the man with dual pupils. Unfortunately, you came too late. Don't be complacent. The man with dual pupils expressionlessly stared at Little Stone. The path of green clouds is only a path to test oneself. Who is first and who is second cannot prove anything. My foundation has exceeded your imagination. Haha, foundation? Little Stone laughed loudly. His eyes stared at the man with dual pupils' chest. My cousin, is that bone of mine useful? And the man with dual pupils' pupils shrank. His eyes erupted with resplendent divine light. For pupils appeared, and streaks of symbols flickered. Vaguely, within his pupils, endless strange scenes flickered. Heaven and earth collapsed, the sun and moon disappeared, and the river of stars shattered. It was as if a part of heaven and earth was being destroyed, but also as if a part of heaven and earth was being opened. Dual pupils open the heavens. This was the divine ability of the man with dual pupils. Little Stone stood upright. His eyes erupted with endless radiance. It was as if two blazing suns broke through the sky. The vast divine splendor was dazzling. Their auras collided. It was as if two waves of anger fiercely collided, erupting with world-shaking vibrations. In their first confrontation, the two were evenly matched. So it was you. The man with dual pupils expressionlessly looked at Little Stone. Then, he turned his head to look at Xiao Hao. He is sure Hao. What about you? When I was in Stone Clan's second ancestral land, I was also called Sure Hao. Xiao Hao looked at the man with dual pupils and replied indifferently. So the so-called Tai Hao and Xiao Hao were actually you two. The man with dual pupils' face was ice cold. You two being able to live until now is truly unexpected. Sure, back then, you schemed to steal my supreme being bone. Today, this debt will be properly settled. Little Stone took a step forward. His entire body's chi and blood surged. Blazing divine splendor surged into the sky like an ocean. Come, let me see how much ability you've gained after stealing my supreme being bone. Little Stone's aura was boundless as he stepped forward step by step. He was like an enormous mountain as he crushed over. This is not the place for a decisive battle. If you want to fight, The Void God Realms arena will welcome you at any time. Contrary to their expectations, the man with dual pupils did not fight. His figure flashed, turning into light as he left the Sacred Academy's place. Sure, that fellow actually ran away? Little Shitu's footsteps paused, and his face was full of surprise. You shouldn't be afraid to accept the challenge, right? He should be worried for me. Xiaohao walked over with a smile. Those with heavy pupils are scheming and are able to size up the situation. At this moment, there are two of us here. He was worried that he would be besieged by the two of us, so he naturally refused to fight. What a petty person. Little Shirtu coldly snorted. The Void God Realms arena? That's fine. When the time comes, I'll fight against him again. I'll let them see that even if my supreme being bone is dug out, I, Xiaohao, am still the supreme being of this world. This is indeed not the place for the final battle. Xiaohao turned his head to look at the depths of the Sacred Academy. A smile appeared in his eyes. Senior, you have been watching for so long. Why don't you come out for a chat? You can actually discover me? In the depths of the Sacred Academy, a gray-robed woman walked out from a chaotic cloud of light. You're also a man with dual pupils? Little Stone was shocked to discover that the woman who walked out from the cloud of light had 4 overlapping pupils in her eyes. Is it strange that I'm a man with dual pupils? Didn't another man with dual pupils come over? The gray-robed woman chuckled. You two little fellows, even I can't see through you. It's really strange. Also, how did you discover me? With your strength, it's impossible for you to discover my existence. Of course it's a wild guess. Xiaohao replied with a smile. In reality, it was naturally not a wild guess. Instead, it was the Supreme Palace in his mind that gave Xiaohao a hint. Is this the reason why Ancestral Master had us come to the Heaven Mending Pavilion's Sacred Academy? Apart from the Blue Clouds Roads test and the Heaven Mending Techniques inheritance, this woman with dual pupils is the real reason? While thinking, Xiaohao's expression did not change. I was just casually looking for a place to stay. Since I've been discovered by you, I can't stay here any longer. Elder sister will take her leave. The gray-robed woman waved her hand, and her entire person disappeared like a bubble. We haven't even said a few words, and she's already leaving? Xiaohao and Little Stone looked at each other in dismay. Could it be that Ancestral Master didn't have us come here for this person? Seeing the gray-robed woman leave, Xiaohao's heart was bewildered. He could not guess why Ancestral Master had asked him to come here. In reality, Liu arranged for Xiaohao to come here only to let them come out and participate in the big events of the outside world. There was no other reason. On the peak of the Heaven Mending Pavilion, the figure of the man with dual pupils flashed through the gate made of symbols and landed on the peak of the mountain. You came out? How was your harvest? Seeing the man with dual pupils come out first, the old spider's face was full of joy. He even looked at Xiongqi provocatively. I didn't get the heaven mending technique. The man with dual pupils answered with a gloomy face. Ha! You didn't get it, right? Old spider, didn't I say that your four-eyed man was no good? Xiongqi laughed loudly. His dark green eyes were full of mockery. The man with dual pupils lost? The Heaven Mending Pavilion Master was startled, but he immediately felt relieved. Even the man with dual pupils was defeated by them. Taihao and Xiaohao are truly formidable. Didn't get it? The old spider's face also became gloomy. Those two brats are actually so powerful? What kind of background do they have? Ancestral Master Golden Spider, let's go. Since they had already failed, the man with dual pupils naturally could not stay here any longer. The old spider did not want to be ridiculed by Xiongqi, so he also did not want to stay. The two said their goodbyes and hurriedly went down the mountain. They rode the Black Eagle and broke through the sky, leaving the Heaven Mending Pavilion far away. What is going on? Those two brats. Ancestral Master, I already know where they came from. The man with dual pupils' eyes were cold and emitted a cold light. They don't have any background at all. That Tai Hao is the Sure Hao from the Martial Imperial Manor. As for that Xiao Hao, he is only Sure Hao's substitute in the second ancestral land. They They actually have this kind of background. Then, their tyrannical bodies and exceptional talents, as well as Cheong-chi. Could it be that the rumors are true? Did they really obtain a world-shaking divine treasury? The old spider's eyes kept changing. Yes. Cheong-chi is definitely the mount of the divine treasury's owner. Otherwise, why would it call those two brats young masters? That makes sense. Of these two little cubs, only Cheong-chi was able to keep up appearances. They don't have any so-called background. Clenching his fist, the old spider's face was full of malevolence. It's just a trifling Cheong-chi. My demonic spirit lake still has a supreme expert. The two of us will work together to take down Cheong-chi and capture those two brats. At that time, the divine treasury will be ours. Ancestral Master is wise. The man with dual pupils sneered and looked towards the direction of the heaven-mending pavilion. My little brothers, you shouldn't have exposed your identities. If you can't even endure silently, how can you achieve great things? Use this opportunity of yours to make me stronger. A conspiracy was about to unfold. P.S. I recommend a similar work called Movie World Thief. Anyway, the author's name was Seven Vibrating Eggs. Aren't you curious about his author's name? Chapter 599. Pavilion Master. This is the heaven-mending technique. Xiaohao and Little Stone left the Holy Institute and returned to the peak of heaven-mending pavilion. Little Stone gave the heaven-mending technique bone book to the heaven-mending pavilion master. The heaven-mending technique has finally seen the light of day again. The heaven-mending pavilion master took the bone book, and his heart was filled with emotions. The Holy Institute was the place of inheritance of heaven-mending pavilion, but the requirements of the Holy Institute were too high. For many years, no disciple of heaven-mending pavilion was able to enter the Holy Institute. A mysterious technique had been covered in dust for many years. Other than the guardian spirit's imminent death, the lack of a successor was also the reason for heaven-mending pavilion's decline. It's a pity. These two exceptionally talented youths will never be able to truly enter Bution Pavilion. At most, they would only be in name. The heaven-mending pavilion master secretly sighed in his heart. Pavilion master, this matter is over. We must also take our leave. The mission of coming to heaven-mending pavilion had already been completed, and Xiaohao did not want to stay here any longer. Other than the heaven-mending technique, the inheritance of heaven-mending pavilion did not move the two of them. If you two want to leave, this old man will naturally not stop you. It's just that, in 3 months, the 100 Shattering Mountains secret territory will open. I wonder if you two are interested in going? The heaven-mending pavilion master looked at the two with a hopeful expression. If you two can go to the 100 Shattering Mountains, there is an immortal divine spring. If you two can obtain the water of the immortal divine spring, the 100 Shattering Mountains actually has such a godly item? Xiaohao nodded thoughtfully. He cupped his hands towards the heaven-mending pavilion master and said, Rest assured, pavilion master, if we can obtain the water of the immortal divine spring, we will definitely send a portion to heaven-mending pavilion. Many thanks. Many thanks. The heaven-mending pavilion master was unable to contain his joy. With Xiaohao and Taihao's strength, entering the 100 Shattering Mountains and obtaining the water of the immortal divine spring was very likely. With the water of the immortal divine spring, the guardian spirit should be able to live a little longer, right? Then, we will take our leave. After cupping their hands, Xiaohao and Little Stone stepped on a Cheong-chi's back and soared into the sky, leaving heaven-mending pavilion. Cheong-chi's flying speed was extremely fast. Cheong-chi's speed was extremely fast. They were far away from heaven-mending pavilion. Be careful. While flying, Cheong-chi suddenly let out a loud roar. It spread its wings and did a quick somersault, as if it was dodging something. Boom! A dazzling golden light, like the scorching sun breaking through the clouds, split the sky like a sword. Heaven and earth collapsed. As the golden light slashed through, the clouds in the sky were swept away, and the ground rumbled. Countless mountains collapsed and turned into gravel. Old spider, do you want to die? Cheong-chi roared furiously as it landed on the ground and roared furiously at a mountain in front of it. From the golden light, just now, Cheong-chi already knew who the attacker was. The one who attacked was the old spider from the demonic spirit lake. Courting death? You're the one who's seeking death. Two beams of light, one gold and one black, soared into the sky. Their boundless aura covered the entire sky. Damn it, two venerables. We're in big trouble now. Cheong-chi's pupils constricted as his expression turned grave. Cheong-chi, leave quickly if you know what's good for you. The venerable golden spider shouted at Cheong-chi and flanked it with the other old man who was emitting a black light. Old spider, how dare you provoke our young master? Just wait for your demonic spirit lake to be destroyed. Cheong-chi unleashed a monstrous divine aura and confronted the two old spiders from afar. Young master? Bullsh asterisk T young master. The venerable golden spider looked at Xiao Hao and Cheong-chi with a ferocious expression. Two mountain barbarians. How dare you be so ostentatious after obtaining the divine treasure? Today all of you will die. Damn it, these two fellows are determined to fight. Cheong-chi hurriedly transmitted his voice to Xiao Hao and Cheong-chi. These are the demonic spirit lake's golden spider and black spider. These two fellows are both venerables and are very difficult to deal with. Young masters, I'll hold them back. You two leave quickly. Then will you be all right? Xiao Hao looked at Cheong-chi worriedly and asked in a low voice. Although I can't defeat the two of them, it's impossible for them to kill me. Young masters, leave quickly. Cheong-chi's figure flashed and threw Xiao Hao and Cheong-chi away. Sky-rending claw. With a furious roar, its wings covered the sky and its ferocious aura was unparalleled. Cheong-chi leaped and waved its two huge claws, which exploded with light and turned into two claw shadows that covered the sky. It fiercely slapped at the two old spiders. Go! Two pairs of wings appeared on their backs. Xiao Hao and Cheong-chi spread their wings and soared into the sky. They whistled through the air and quickly flew towards Stone Village. Want to run? None of you will be able to escape. The two old spiders sneered. They didn't pay attention to the two little fellows who were flying away. Instead, they focused on Cheong-chi's attacks and fought with him. Boom! The earth collapsed and the mountains collapsed. Just the shockwaves from the battle between three Exalt Realm pure-blooded true spirits had destroyed the Desolation mountain range within a radius of 500 kilometers. Mountains collapsed one after another, and the earth caved in one after another. The earth shook and the mountains shook. Old spiders of the demonic spirit lake dare to intercept us halfway? Damn it! Xiao Hao and Cheong-chi were furious. However, they couldn't interfere in a battle between venerables. They would only be a burden if they stayed. Cheong-chi would only have a chance to escape if they were far away. Have you just arrived? I've been waiting for you for a long time. When the two of them flew over a mountain, they suddenly heard a cold voice coming from the top of the mountain ahead. Inescapable net, seal. Brilliant golden light soared into the sky. Rays of golden light intertwined and turned into a huge net that covered the sky and the earth. It loomed over the two. Xiao Hao and Cheong-chi were furious when they heard the voice. This bastard, actually also participated in the interception of these two people. Wingding Zhao, sky-rending slash. A huge spider web loomed over them. Xiao Hao and Cheong-chi had no choice but to deal with it first. They didn't have the time to worry about the man with double pupils. The sword light whistled as it transformed into a gigantic sword wing. Then, it viciously slashed at the golden spiderweb. Boom! The sword light whistled and the golden light exploded. An earth-shattering explosion occurred. However, the sword light didn't break the spiderweb. Although the impact of the sword light pushed the spiderweb back 300 meters, it was useless. The spiderweb was still blocking their path. The two of them were blocked by this spiderweb, and there was no way they could escape. Each of you has a divine artifact. Wingding Zhao, what a great name. The man with double pupils controlled the spider web to block the two of them. His eyes were filled with endless coldness. You're not the only ones with divine artifacts. Damn it. Xiao Hao and Xiong Qi kept controlling the sword wings to slash at the spider web. However, both of them were divine artifacts and were equal in nature. Neither of them could do anything to the other. However, the man with double pupils didn't use the spider web to trap the two of them. He only wanted to stop Xiao Hao and Xiong Qi from escaping. That was enough. You can't escape, little bastards. The black spider broke free from Xiong Qi's entanglement. He rode a black light and whistled through the air. Boom! A huge pitch-black palm rushed up and grabbed at the two of them. Its monstrous power was unstoppable. No matter how talented Xiao Hao and Xiong Qi were, the difference in strength was too great in front of a pure-blooded true spirit. They couldn't resist at all. The crisis of life and death was right in front of them. My lords, I've been extremely exhausted these past few days. I'm both mentally and physically exhausted. Sirs, please give me a few more days and allow me to make some minor adjustments. Thank you. Thank you. There will be another huge update in May. I'll take a breather for now. The golden-furred ape leaped into the air and swung its gigantic fist that was shining with golden light, smashing it down towards the black spider. Boom! The sky fell and the earth cracked. The sky collapsed and the earth caved in. The golden fist shattered the wind, shattered the clouds, shook the void, and shattered the earth. You! Zhuyan! Black Spider was so shocked by the sudden appearance of the golden-fur violent ape that his face turned pale. He hurriedly defended himself with all his might. Boom! A loud sound was heard. Black Spider spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying dozens of miles away. Ha ha! Xiong Qi laughed wildly. Even I don't dare to let him get close to me. Old Spider, you didn't get beaten up by him. You're quite strong. There are two pure-blooded true spirits at the Supremacy Realm. Damn it! Golden Spider's face was extremely gloomy. If there was only one Xiong Qi, the two of them would definitely be able to take him down. Now, another scarlet ape had appeared. They had kicked an iron plate. Two supremacies? Ha ha ha! Who do you think you've offended? You'll be scared to death if I tell you. Old Spider, just wait for your demonic spirit lake to be destroyed. Xiong Qi laughed wildly and unleashed a monstrous aura as he charged towards Old Spider. Fighting empty-handed is just not fun. The golden-furred ape swung its golden fist and chased after the black spider, but it still didn't feel good. Where's the stick? Where's my stick? The golden-furred ape roared and used a god power to summon his weapon. Boom! In the depths of the desolate mountain range, a huge black club that had been buried underground suddenly broke through the ground with a rumble, whistling as it rushed into the sky. Zhuyan is summoning his weapon? What's going on? Willow Deity frowned when she saw this. Zhuyan had gone out with Little Stone, Xiong Qi, and Xiao Hao. Now, even Xiong Qi couldn't stop it. Even Zhuyan had to summon his weapon. Sky-swallowing sparrow, Azure Skyrock. You two chase after Zhuyan's weapon and rush over to take a look. Willow Deity hurriedly instructed the sky-swallowing sparrow and Azure Skyrock. Yes. Two ferocious birds soared into the sky and flew in the direction of the black stick, spreading their wings as they sped along. The Azure Sky Rock and Sky-Swallowing Sparrow soared through the sky in extremely fast speed. A distance of almost 1,000,000 kilometers was not considered too far for two pure-blooded, true-spirit ferocious birds that were venerable ones. Boom! A pitch-black stick broke through the sky. Ha! The golden-furred ape laughed loudly. The stick is here. Black Spider, just wait to be smashed into meat paste. Screech! Screech! Two loud screeches resounded through the sky. The Azure Sky Rock and Sky-Swallowing Sparrow soared through the sky, their violent auras covering the sky and earth. Ha ha! My helpers are here. Cheong-chi laughed wildly and slapped Golden Spider with his claws. Old Spider, you don't know who you've offended. You bunch of spider demons, just wait to be annihilated. For pure-blooded, true spirits at the Exalt realm. Golden Spider was so shocked that his face turned pale. He trembled and broke out in cold sweat. That, Brother Cheong-chi, it's a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding my ass. Cheong-chi cursed and pounced forward with his claws. He roared, "Someone wants to harm young master. What should we do? Tear him apart." The sky-swallowing sparrow let out a long cry and reached out with its sharp claws. It tore through the void and clawed viciously at Golden Spider. "Monkey, do you need help?" The azure sky rock saw Monkey swinging his stick and smashing it with great enthusiasm, as if he didn't need anyone's help. "I haven't had my fill yet. Go play somewhere else." The golden-furred ape replied angrily. He swung his stick and chased after Black Spider, smashing it with all his might. "All right, I can't help." The azure sky rock shook his head. He spread his wings and landed beside Xiaohao and Little Stone. "Is this guy an enemy too? Do you want me to crush him to death?" The azure sky rock's jade-like feathers stretched out as it stared at the man with double pupils with its huge eyes. It looked like it would crush him to death if he didn't agree with it. At this moment, the man with double pupils was scared out of his wits. For supremacies, all of whom were subordinates of Xiaohao and Taihao. What was going on with this world? Two dead salted fish that had been trampled to the ground actually had a day when they could turn around. And when they turned around, they actually flipped into the sky. "My cousin now, it's time to settle the old score between us." Little Stone clenched his fists and sneered at the man with double pupils. His entire body's chi and blood surged, and a huge amount of power rushed out. Chapter 601. Bullying the weak with numbers. Is that all you've got? The man with double pupils sneered, as if he was disdainful of Little Stone's actions. In reality, this was just his plan. The current situation was very unfavorable. With the arrival of 4 pure-blooded venerable realm true spirits, the demonic spirit lake would definitely be destroyed and the spider nest would be overturned. Under such circumstances, the only way to survive was to provoke Little Stone into a duel with him. Only then would he have a chance to survive. Actually, I've always been curious. Little Shirtu didn't pay any attention to the provocation of the man with double pupils. Instead, he started talking to himself. "Back then, you used the power of double pupils to discover my Supreme Being Bone. At that time, you probably didn't know that the Supreme Being Bone could be transplanted. You purposely revealed my Supreme Being Bone because you wanted to kill me, right?" The eyes of the man with heavy pupils shrank. He remained silent and didn't reply. Of course, Little Stone didn't want him to reply. Ignoring the man with double pupils, Little Stone continued. "At that time, I was only a little over a year old, and you were probably only 4 or 5 years old. At such a young age, you already knew how to eliminate competitors and threats. Were you born this vicious?" The man with double pupils still didn't reply, but his pupils shrank as if he felt that something was wrong. "After my Supreme Being Bone was dug out, you still didn't let me go, nor did you let my family go. You never stopped trying to kill us." Speaking up to here, Little Stone turned to look at Xiaohao. In the end, Xiaohao had no choice but to gamble with his life and become my substitute to attract your attention. This gave me a chance to escape. Also, Little Shirtu turned around to look at the man with double pupils. A faint smile appeared on his face as he said, "Just a moment ago, you wanted to kill me. Why is that? I should be the only one who hates you, right? You actually hate me so much? You want me dead? Are you afraid? Afraid that I'll rise again? You think I'm afraid of you? Do you think I'll be afraid of you if we fight one-on-one?" The man with double pupils' eyes shone brightly. "Come, let's have a showdown. Let's see if I'm stronger, or if you're stronger." "Ha! You've been trying to provoke me into fighting you one-on-one. Of course I know what you're planning." Little Shirtu smiled as he looked at the man with double pupils. He slowly raised his arm and said, "As you wish." Let's have a showdown. Don't you think it's unfair to fight here? With them watching from the side, can we have a fair fight? If you have the ability, let's fight in the void god realm. The man with double pupils coldly laughed. It was as if he disdained little Shita's unfair duel. My cousin, it's fine if you're stupid, but do you think I'm as stupid as you? Little Stone laughed coldly as he shook his head. His expression turned icy cold. I'm giving you a chance to fight because I want to prove to you that even if you have dual pupils, even if you stole my bone of supremacy, you're still just a pile of dog shit. Either come and fight, or be crushed to death by the azure sky rock's claw. Choose for yourself. Little Shirtu pointed his finger at the man with dual pupils. The blood and chi in his body surged like a raging tide. The divine splendor was brilliant and awe-inspiring. Then let's fight. The man with dual pupils had no choice but to fight. Sure, how? I'll let you see how I, a natural-born saint, suppress the world and become unrivaled. Streaks of symbol brilliance swirled around his body. A boundless aura shook the heavens and earth. Qilin steps. An enormous Qilin shadow appeared above the man with dual pupils' head. The man with dual pupils took a step forward. Mountain rocks collapsed, and the great earth trembled. When this step was taken, an incomparably powerful shockwave surged like a raging tide. It was as if the entire great earth was smashing over. Qilin, I also know the power of the great earth. Little Stone's entire body erupted with the vigorous power of the great earth. He also took a step forward. Taiyu heavenly art was used. The vigorous power of the great earth formed a majestic, divine mountain. It faced the Qilin steps' great earth, trembling power, and fiercely smashed over. How long? It was as if a raging tide smashed into a reef. The great earth trembled violently and surged like waves of the sea. Imai move as well, moving mountain-breaking peak. Little Stone brandished his fist. The image of a mountain condensed on his fist. His fist was like a mountain. You're too slow. In the eyes of the man with dual pupils, even the speed of lightning became extremely slow. At this moment, Little Stone's fist was as slow as a snail under the eyes of the man with dual pupils. The man with dual pupils' body swayed and dodged Little Stone's fist. Then he raised his palm. Golden Crow, primordial fire. He pushed out his palm. The sky full of golden flames rushed up and transformed into a three-legged golden crow. It fiercely smashed toward Little Stone. At the same time, a ray of light burst out from the man's eyes. The aura of the three-legged golden crow instantly doubled. This was the power of the man with dual pupils. The blazing golden crow primordial fire swept out. The great earth instantly melted and turned into a sea of magma. The flames that could melt gold and iron were extremely domineering. Indestructible Vajra, boulder body. Little Stone's body shone brightly. He was as firm as a boulder. He took a step toward the golden crow. An endless storm burst out from his hand. Wild winds sweeping. The image of a green sky rock rushed out from Little Stone's palm. With a honglong sound, it collided with the golden crow. The two were annihilated at the same time. Chapter 602. Light of Calamity. This light represented the final calamity of the world. It was unavoidable and unstoppable. Little Stone, Xiaohao, and the Azure Sky Rock cried out at the same time. However, even though the Azure Sky Rock was extremely fast and close at hand, it was already too late for him to come to the rescue. This was because this light represented the limit of speed. My supreme being Bone, seeing this light and feeling this power, Little Stone's heart palpitated. However, there was no panic on his face. Instead, there was a smile on his face. Boom! The final calamity of the world, the light that could destroy everything, crashed into Little Stone's body. Ha ha ha! Die! Go to hell! The man with double pupils laughed wildly. The light of calamity from his chest exploded even more violently. He wanted to completely destroy Little Stone. Not even a speck of dust would be left. He wanted to completely erase all traces of Little Stone's existence from this world. However, the light of calamity from heaven that he had high hopes for had no effect at all. The light that could destroy everything formed a pillar of light and crashed into Little Stone's body. Then, like a drop of water entering the sea, it disappeared without a trace. It was as if there was a huge black hole in Little Stone's body that was constantly devouring this light. How is this possible? The man with double pupils was shocked. He couldn't believe what he had just seen. The light of calamity from heaven was an unstoppable power that could destroy everything. How could it not work? Because it was mine to begin with. Little Stone opened his arms as if he was embracing the entire world. All rivers flowing into the sea. The mighty light of calamity from heaven was like a river flowing into the sea as it quickly entered Little Stone's body. I see. Seeing this, Xiao Hao and the azure sky rock heaved a sigh of relief. They smiled as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. A trembling sound came from Little Stone's chest. It was as if the world was resonating with it. A brilliant light bloomed. It was as if the sun had broken through the horizon. It was holy and glorious. In Little Stone's chest, where the Supreme Being bone had been dug out, a small piece of the God bone that was as translucent as jade sprouted. It was as if spring had returned to the world. Heaven and earth resonated. Everyone was terrified. At this moment, Nirvana rebirth, the Supreme Being had returned. After going through all the tribulations and hardships, a natural-born sovereign once again ascended the throne that belonged to him, looking down on all living beings and dominating the world. Boom! Monstrous divine radiance soared into the sky, illuminating heaven and earth. The boundless power was like the raging tides of the ocean. You lost. Little Shirtu calmly looked at the man with dual pupils and slowly raised his arm. Even if you were born with dual pupils, even if you stole my Supreme Being bone, you are still not enough. At this time, the man with double pupils no longer cared about Little Shitu's ridicule. Little Stone's Supreme Being bone had been reborn, and it was currently absorbing the light of calamity. The Supreme Being bone transplanted into the chest of the man with dual pupils could only continuously absorb his power and release the light of tribulation. The power in his body was like a river bursting through a dam, gushing out for 1,000 miles. The man with double pupils trembled from head to toe. He couldn't even speak. I used the Taodai treasure technique. In the dazzling radiance on Little Stone's chest, a huge mouth that resembled a black hole faintly appeared. The light of tribulation entered his body and activated Little Stone's Supreme Being bone. At this time, Little Stone used the Taodai treasure technique to absorb this power and further activate the regeneration of the Supreme Being bone. Back then, you stole my Supreme Being bone. Even now, my grandfather and my parents are nowhere to be found. I don't even know if they're still alive. Little Stone reached out his hand towards the man with double pupils. Today, I will take everything from you. A huge shadow of a Taotai appeared. Its huge mouth was like a black hole as it swallowed the man with double pupils. In an instant, he was reduced to ashes. The man with double pupils, died just like that. All of his power became nutrients for the regeneration of the Supreme Being bone. Clang! The man with double pupils, who had been reduced to ashes, actually left behind something that wasn't devoured by the Taotai treasure technique. His 2 eyes were sparkling and translucent. A piece of divine bone was shining brilliantly. Double pupils and Supreme Being bone. With a wave of his hand, the 3 items fell into his hand. Little Stone looked at the 3 items with a complicated expression and let out a long sigh. Xiao, help me keep them. After killing the man with double pupils, Little Stone recalled the past and felt an inexplicable sadness in his heart. My grandfather, my parents, where are you? Are you still alive? Young master, I've returned victorious. At this time, Cheong-Chi and the sky-swallowing sparrow flew over while dragging 2 huge spiders, one golden and one black. Surprisingly, The golden-haired violent ape from before had turned into a golden-haired monkey. The sky-swallowing sparrow was holding a pitch-black stick in one of its claws. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The golden-haired monkey jumped down from Cheong-Chi's back and pointed at Little Stone while grimacing. This guy, why did he turn back into a little monkey? Seeing the golden-haired monkey, Little Stone and Xiao Hao were both very surprised. The golden-haired violent ape from before was extremely violent and powerful. Now, why did it turn into such a silly and cute appearance? That big guy is sleeping. It won't wake up unless it's a matter of life and death. Cheong-Chi put down the big spider and explained to the two. In fact, it had nothing to do with sleeping. It was completely the effect of the seal set by Li Yu. Young master, the demonic spirit lake is plotting against you. They are evil beyond redemption. Young master, please give the order to flatten the demonic spirit lake. The sky-swallowing sparrow shouted with righteous indignation. This time, Cheong-Chi had made a great contribution by protecting the young master. Although the sky-swallowing sparrow had arrived, it was just icing on the cake. It didn't get the chance to share the joys and sorrows of the young master. Now, it could only flatten the demonic spirit lake to vent its anger for the young master. Only then would it have a chance to show off. We can't let the demonic spirit lake go. Xiao Hao and Little Stone looked at each other and nodded together. The demonic spirit lake spider demons had a very bad attitude towards the human race. They saw the human race as fish and trampled on them at will. Moreover, they were the power behind the dual-pupiled individual. They colluded with the Rain clan with the intention of interfering with Stone Country's politics and stirring up chaos within Stone Country. They were truly wicked beyond redemption. More importantly, Xiao Hao and Little Shirtu were almost killed by the demonic spirit lake. With their temperament, how could they swallow this insult? Let's go. Level the demonic spirit lake. After collecting the two big spiders' corpses and the golden-haired monkey's club, Xiao Hao and Little Shirtu sat on the back of the Cheong-Chi and the sky-swallowing sparrow respectively. They whistled as they rushed towards the demonic spirit lake. Even if the golden-haired monkey had become a cute pet again, it no longer had the power to destroy heaven and earth. However, with the Cheong-Chi, the sky-devouring sparrow, and the azure sky rock, three pure-blooded true spirits at the exalt level, they could destroy the demonic spirit lake with a flick of their fingers. Let the destruction of the demonic spirit lake serve as a warning to the other powers. My young master is not someone that anyone can offend. The sky-devouring sparrow let out a long cry and soared into the sky. You didn't show up at the crucial moment. No matter how much trouble you make now, it's already too late. Cheong-Chi snickered inwardly as it flapped its wings and sped away. As a result, the demonic spirit lake was about to receive a devastating blow. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.